August 23rd. Public hearing for the City of Tampa's Barrio Latino Commission. Welcome everyone. I'm Rich Simmons, Chair of the Commission. If you're here to present a project, you will have limited time to make your presentation, so we suggest being thorough but concise. When coming to the microphone, you will need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. The commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation. Your project should be presented in the following order: site plan, elevations, architectural details, wall sections. Staff presents staff reports, and then we will ask for public comment. Following your presentation, the commissioners will be asking questions in the same order as the presentation. Please state and spell your name clearly for the record. If you're here to speak for or against the project, your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take some time now and prepare your comments. Following public comment, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed. The only comments which will be allowed after the public hearing is closed will be in response to any questions from the commissioners. The commissioners will then discuss the case and make their decision based upon the City Ordinance, Chapter 27 of the City Zoning Code, the design guidelines, the Secretary of Interior standards, design review comments, and the testimony given today at the public hearing. The BLC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owner agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and or approvals. If you haven't already done so, please silence all cell phones. We'll start with the introduction of our commissioners, starting on my left, please.
My name's Tom Hammer.
Good morning, I'm Jose Gelatz.
Roberto Torres.
And from staff, we have Dennis Fernandez, Ron Vila, Aminta Owen, Alexis Guzman, and Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from City Legal. Okay, in our packets in front of you, you have the minutes from the June 28th, 2022 public hearing. Are there any comments? Hearing no comments, we will approve the minutes by unanimous consent.
We need a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
All in favor said motion?
Aye.
Read by Ms. Quintz. Mr. Fernandez.
Good morning, Commissioners.
That was changing.
And Historic Preservation Manager, welcome to today's public hearing. I did want to welcome our newest staff member, Alexis Guzman, who's joining us. As you recall, Beverly had moved to a different department a few months ago, and we were lucky enough to convince Alexis to come and join us. And she will be taking over many of the responsibilities that Beverly formerly did, in addition to others that we're defining currently. I did want to include the BLC staff approvals for July into the record. I have a list of those that should be in your packet, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And then also, we have completed the 2023 public hearing cycle calendar. We'll be sending that out to you via email. You can take a look at that. If there are any obvious conflicts that you know about, just let us know ahead of time so we can plan the meetings accordingly. And with that, I believe we are ready for the disclosure of ex parte communication and conflicts of interest.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the City Attorney's Office. Will the Commissioners please state whether or not they've had any ex parte communications regarding any of the items that are on the agenda? Hearing none for the record. Additionally, Commissioners, can you please state whether or not you have any conflicts of interest regarding any of the items that are on the agenda?
Yes, I have a conflict.
And that's regarding which case?
BLC 22-156.
And can you just state on the record what the nature is of your conflict?
I'm employed by the company that designed that project.
And were you able to, Commissioner Hammer, complete the disclosure form?
Just did.
Okay, and can you hand it to Madam Clerk? Thank you so much. Any other conflicts of interest? Thank you.
With that, we'll go ahead and move on to continuations. We do have one continuation on the agenda that we will need a motion for. That is BLC 22-130 for the property located at 1913 East 5th Avenue and that's being continued to the September 27th, 2022 public hearing at 9 a.m. If we could get a motion for that?
I'll make that motion. So we move 130 to the next meeting.
Can you state with specificity the case number and the date and the time for the meeting?
Case number BL 130.
BLC.
22, yeah, BLC 22 130. And to move that to the September, I'm not sure what date it is,
27th.
27th meeting.
Is it the 27th or the 23rd?
It's the 27th. There's a typo in the agenda.
27, 2022?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion continues to the September 27th public hearing.
Thank you. We are now ready for the swearing. Anyone in the audience who's going to be presenting or giving testimony, please stand and raise your right hand for the swearing from Ms. Owen.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you will be giving today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
And with that, we're ready for our first case.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Vila, I'm staff with Historic Preservation. Our first application this morning is BLC 22-131. This is for the address of 1915 East Fifth Avenue. Currently, it's a vacant parcel with the zoning attached to that parcel is YC7, which has 0 setbacks in the front, the side, and in the rear. That will be illustrated on the presentation presented to you this morning. The approximate square footage of the structure that's coming forward is 3,700. The request is for a certificate of appropriateness for new construction for single-family residence with site improvements. Some past action reflected on your staff report on page 3, that this came forward to this board in June and then was continued. So you did see a presentation on this. I had been working with the agent. He needs to provide a complete presentation this morning to move forward. At this time, I'd like to share some photos with you. This is starting with a Sanborn map that dates back to 1929. You see the density in the area. Property in question is on Fifth Avenue, in between 19th Street and 20th Street that runs north and south. To the south of the subject site, you have 4th Avenue, and to the rear of the parcel, there is an activated alley that is currently used. You see the density that's there. The yellow indicates frame construction, and you see the vernacular of the homes. You see the setbacks from the front property line that had porches, and I'll show some photos to strengthen that as you move forward looking at this case. This is looking from above. The aerial property in question is highlighted in the green parcel. Once again, you have 5th Avenue to the north, 4th Avenue to the south, and the block is in between 19th and 20th Street with an open alley. This is looking from 5th Avenue back into the site. You see the part of the street. You see some granite curbing. You see a parkway that through this presentation should be refurbished. You have the pedestrian walkway, the sidewalk, and then the fencing that's in place. This is just panning to the west. The subject site is here. It's all a vacant parcel, but you get an understanding of kind of the walkways that come in and engage into the sidewalk as it moves into the private property. There is some vehicular access along 5th Avenue now that through this project and some future projects will be built up, and the alley will be used as that thoroughfare. Looking down the street, which is 5th Avenue, which is the main street, this is looking down 5th to the east. You see some parallel parking. Once again, You see the granite curbing, the parkway, and then the sidewalks that complete the public spaces. And moving around to the west, you have that same experience there. Directly across the street, you have a non-contributing structure. And then to conclude is the series of photos showing the alley. This is the condition in the alley. It's one of our better alleys. And then just turn around and looking at the alley and the other direction. At this time, that completes the photo presentation, and I'll have the agent address the board. Thank you.
Good morning. Simon Amesbury, agent for the client, Allaire Homes, 730 West Jedden. I have some handouts here for the board. So follow on the presentation. So if it's okay with the board, I'd like to start with the objections that we had from the hearing the first time, following the order that you asked for. So we were asked to reinstate the curb and the parkway fronting on Fifth Avenue. We've added a note to the drawings. Hopefully you can see on the overhead and on your handouts there, the note. It's not quite in focus. Zoom in, he's down here.
Look up there, guys, so you can see him. I got you. Okay.
Yes, hopefully you can see that. The curb and parkway to be reinstated. We've added that to the site plan, and we will do that. We discussed the simplification of the facade, if you can look on your drawings there, we removed the shutters that were discussed last time out. We did find lots of examples of shutters, but we found that the shutters, they were complicating that facade. So we decided that was a simplification, easy simplification. So we removed those shutters. If you remember, the columns had trim to them, hardy trim to them, and the comment was made that it made it look too Charleston and not consistent with local. So we looked at the columns in the neighboring property to the east and took off the additional trims, and now they're just, and you can see that from the drawings, they're just straight, square, flat columns. You didn't see that? Do you want me? I can show you a photo of what I mean. Sorry, I've lost my photo. So if you look, this is the property to the east. You see how they're just flat, straight, square columns. And then on our drawings here, you'll see we mimicked that. See the columns on the elevation there? Yeah. There was a comment about Juliet balconies, which are only to the rear of the property, but I just wanted to bring up that, comment was made they're not consistent, so we looked into that too. The property right next door actually has Juliet balcony, and very grainy on this. And then there are other examples as well historically of plenty of Juliet balconies. You'll see here. And you'll see in this one too, they've got Juliet's on this one too. So we decided to keep those. They're only at the rear anyway. There's only 2 of them, so we didn't feel that was an inconsistency. We took note and agreed with hiding the pool cage. It was a discussion point we had. You'll see here we raised the parapet wall, so now the pool cage is not within view. We discussed quite at length, this was one of the major discussions we had, about the elevations and the setbacks and the balcony, the porch depth. So going through those, we looked at all the properties along the street there. The numbers of steps range from 2 to 7, with riser heights varying to give ground floor elevations of about 1'8" to 2'6". We have 5 steps and a ground floor elevation of 2 foot, so we felt that was quite consistent with the block. Distances from the sidewalk to the entry door were discussed. They vary from 5 to 10 feet along the block. The subject property will be 8'2", again, within that range there. We increased the depth of the porch. I think one of you made mention of wanting to see it be a more functional porch, so we did that. We increased that depth, which is deeper than actually most on the block there. We listened to concerns about the screens, and then at the rear, this is the entrance to the garage, and the fact that they might get damaged and be unsightly. So we shortened those, as you can see here from the overhead. Get above the text. You'll see here, we took it back some on both sides. There was a comment about stormwater drainage. There is no requirement for stormwater drainage on this property. We confirmed that with the planning department. Their determination is that they agreed that none is required. Even so, we have actually got some designed in. Again, it's not focusing very well on this one. You see there on the side here. Oop. Sorry. Yeah, the focus isn't coming off though, Ron. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. You see here, we have got some drainage anyway that we've included in the design. So looking at other design considerations that we wanted to point out, there was a suggestion made about increasing the height and that potentially simplifying the elevation. We looked at that, we modeled that. The problem was that it then became inconsistent with the properties next door. It was going to be much, much higher. And we didn't feel that that was going to solve, it was going to create another problem rather than solving anything. So you'll see here the consistency with next door, and it's also consistent with going the other way too. The design guidelines specifically calls for width to be consistent with others. You'll see in your presentation pack there, the property to the east has the same width. It's like a 3-bay kind of appearance to it, so we're consistent there. We took time to look at the neighboring properties in the same block, as mentioned in design guidelines, to ensure we're staying consistent with setbacks. We feel we got that, as I demonstrated earlier. We took time to look at the neighboring properties on the same block as mentioned in the design guidelines for the alignment too. There are some variations along the block, but we're pretty consistent with all of them. You know, the depth I mentioned to you about the depth there. We've measured them and we're in that, in the range along the block. The design guidelines discuss the similarity of details and forms. And if you remember from our discussions before, we are right between a very modern development of 2 or 3 units, right, to the east, and then a very traditional craftsman style to the west. And we're trying to marry the two. You know, the modern ones to the side aren't really very consistent with the neighborhood, but it's there, so we're between the two. We're trying to provide some sort of match and consistency between the two, and that's what we feel we've got with the design. We're going to use a mix of siding and stucco because that's what we have on both sides of us. Windows going to be aluminum framed, white or bronze. Railings will be white or bronze, square, simple design as we have on both sides of us. We're maintaining a clear separation between the front of the house and the sidewalk to enable the addition of landscaping in conformance with the guidelines. And then finally, the paving of the driveway to the rear will be boarded concrete with construction joints meeting and being consistent again with the guidelines. And that concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Avila, staff with Historic Preservation. The agent did an admirable job going through the details of the project. I think we should spend a moment going through the site plan, looking at each elevation and how it has been adjusted to meet some of the criteria that we spoke about. And then a wall section is required through our submission requirements. So he kind of dived into the details. Let's take a step back a minute. We look more globally. Like I said, start with the site plan, elevations, and then the wall section. As he goes through that on page 3 of your staff report, I think there is some consistency with the with the Ybor City Design Guidelines. On page 3, it talks about the height and the width, the setbacks, the alignment, rhythm, and spacing, materials, and details and forms. Just to touch upon some of the items, we did ask the agent to look at the massing on the front facade to see if the third story could be set back to bring down the overall height of the structure. I know there is some reference to the west of the subject site that has some massing there that he referenced. I think that should be expressed this morning. This is more of a zero lot line project. As you look at those elevations or the complete totality of the project, there are going to be some building code issues to the east and the west for fenestration that needs to be addressed at the time of building. There was some reference talking about the balcony, the Juliet balcony. The balconies in the back seem to be applied. If the balconies are going to remain, we were asking that French doors, maybe a 2-foot leaf on each of them, when they're open, that the balcony actually functions, just not there in the same plane as that rear facade. He did mention about the block averaging, that he's consistent with the setback and elevation from grade, but that documentation should be presented at the hearing, so additional information on those items as well. And I'll be here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bila. Anyone here from the public wishing to comment on this case? Please step forward and identify yourself.
Morning, Commissioners. Chris Voidovich, WOJTOWICZ, 1508 North 20th Street, Ybor City, 33605. I'm here in support of this project. I am a neighbor. They referenced our blue house on the corner with the columns and some of their photos. That's the house that we built. We're looking forward to new construction in this in this great empty plain in between us and our neighbors right now. So we're very excited to see new projects coming forward. The only concern that I have is not very relevant to this project, but I'll mention it for the commissioner's review, which is we have one contributing structure on our block. So on the side of the block where this house is being built, south side of Fifth Avenue between 20th and 19th Street, it's the old church that sits directly next door to my house. As they're building infill on this lot, want to make sure that that church is treated with whatever degree of respect it can be. We did some things on our house to make sure that we masked away from it, et cetera. This project is not directly adjacent, so I don't know that applies. But anyway, we're very excited to see this, and thank you for considering this project.
Okay, anyone else here from the public wishing to comment? Seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and commissioners can ask questions of the applicant. We'll start with Mr. Hammer on my left.
No questions, thank you.
I had a question on the columns side. Forgive me if my memory is a little fuzzy. I think it was from the last comment was the combination of the shutters and the tall windows and the trim on the columns that was making it sort of like cluttered.
Yeah, that's right.
You addressed the columns, but aside from the shutters, was there something else that you addressed, or like the windows, or like the size of the windows, or the amount of the windows?
The windows were going to match the style of all the properties along there. They weren't, I don't believe they were commented on the windows. It was the shutters, the column trim, and then we talked about the height, maybe that simplifying it, and
Okay.
it doesn't, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, my understanding from the presentation, you did some additional work here on the site plan, so that granite curbing up front, you're replacing that?
Yes, yes.
You're gonna have 5 steps going up, so the finished floor elevation of your house is now,
That was on the presentation. It is now at
and a bunch of drawings in front of us, maybe.
a ground floor elevation of 2 foot.
2 foot?
Yep.
Okay, so that's pretty consistent with the rest of the block,
Yes, sir.
houses on there. Okay, and your setback, I think you addressed that a little bit.
Yes.
Added some dimensions on there.
Yep.
So, last time we talked, we had, we're gonna kind of key in on the front elevation here.
Okay.
Last time, on your last presentation, you had wood columns with trim detail,
That's right.
and now you're going straight stucco.
We got them. No. There'll still be a trim detail, but now they're flat. They're consistent with the property to the east. Exactly the same as the ones to the east.
Is that in your presentation somewhere?
Yeah,
I don't know that
well-
building offhand.
I thought I had a picture of property to the east. Here, so let me try and focus in on this one for you. So you see here, this is, they're trimmed columns, but they're just a flat, it goes a bit grainy on this. Do you want me to bring up there? You want me to bring it up? Here. But it's basically a straightforward flat sheet trim rather than having
I don't see
border
that-
to it.
I don't see that in any of your elevations. I mean, it just looks like it's straight.
That's what's showing here on this one. You see this picture here?
I see a rendering in front of me that
Yeah.
looks like straight columns.
Yeah. No, there's no trim to it. Before we had border trim.
So there's no trim, they're straight.
Yeah, they're just
So
flat,
we
straight.
regressed on that one quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's a good form for the district because it is just plain stucco. I think on the side elevations, I think in one iteration you had hardy board on one side, and then exposed stucco or exposed CMU on the other side. Now both sides are stucco, right?
Well, both sides, you can't
Or
put
CMU.
stucco when it's gonna be 0 setbacks, because
So
if
it's
you build
just painted
against it, it
CMU.
won't be, pardon?
It's just painted CMU.
Exactly, yeah, you can't, you don't wanna put stucco up against it.
And then your front, so let's go beyond the columns now, back on that front facade. That's now hardy board?
Yeah, we've got hardy, yeah. That's right.
Okay. So how are you gonna make that transition from the hardy board on the front to the CMU, painted CMU on the side?
That'll be, so when you do hardy on the sides, you have a border trim that goes around, and then the not lath, because we're not doing stucco, but the trim would return around the corner, and then you'd have it painted CMU.
So you do have the hardy board trim going around the corner? So it
Just like
wraps
a
that
corner
front
piece. Yeah, there's a corner angle piece that goes
So
around.
4 inches, so I don't see that
Yeah.
in your details, so, and then your eyebrows above the French doors, what is the material there? Is that gonna be a hardy board trim?
Yes.
Okay, and could you talk about the third floor elevation? We had talked a little bit before on the last hearing that it's too far forward, it's too high, there's no breakdown. A lot of times in the district, whether they're adjacent houses on your blocks, they're stepped back a little bit up on that third floor. You didn't make any design efforts there to change that, correct?
Yeah, we did, but it didn't look consistent it busied, if you like, if that's a proper word, but it busied the front elevation. It didn't have a simplification of the front elevation, because you're setting it back, you're adding depth and dimension. So you had different lines here. We were trying to keep consistent with this one that's to the west of us, right next door. This is the same height, and it has that flat front to it.
You know, I think there's a little bit more definition of what that roof element is on that building than yours.
Definition,
Yeah, it's got an overhang. I mean, it's got an overhang here instead of just, right now, you took away some of the detail. You had trim on those columns, which kind of define those columns, and going up to the third elevation, and then everything's just a flat face now. There's no additional definition. I think before, the elevations got a little bit too busy with the shutters on the doors, so we suggested that you look at taking away the shutters, which I think declutters that. But now that that's decluttered, you don't have any transitions or demarcation between one level to the next level, and especially not at the cornice level. If you look at this project, there's definition at the cornice level, and I'm not seeing.
so we have the parapet detail at the top there that mirrors what they have next door. We took the trim off the columns because the comment was made it to look too Charleston.
Right.
So we took those off. We can put them back if you want.
Well, I mean, it's your presentation, it's what you're proposing here, so, I mean, that's, what we're looking at. So let me go back to, all right, so it's straight stucco. So on these columns, are there trim details, are there reveals, is it just flat face? What are we doing here? Because I see flat face right here.
Yeah, that's just flat face. Yeah.
And sorry, it's supposed to be white, or, okay, so the whole thing is white? Or the hardy board is yellow, or
Pardon? Sorry, I presented that last time, and maybe I should have presented that all again, but they're gonna be, like pastel colors, consistent with what you got around. You've got a property that's orange on one side, you got yellow opposite, you got blue down the road, you got some oranges. So we haven't decided on the final, colors, but trim is typically white.
right?
And then it'll be pastel colors for elsewhere.
What type of detail can you add on that column with that finish that wouldn't clutter it back again, I guess, will be my question.
Well, we could my concern is that if we put that trim back again, we're gonna end up with the Charleston look that, was commented on last time. You shouldn't put stucco on a wood column. You shouldn't do it. The wood moves, the stucco cracks. Then it's gonna look like an eyesore. It needs to be trim of some sort, but if you need a border around it, then we could put a border around it. That's a minor addition, that's not a problem at all.
So let's talk about how we're gonna talk about your trimming out of these French doors. On your elevations, is there trim there? I don't see any. Is it
Just
an
got the
at
eyebrow.
head?
So the windows in between have got trim around them. The design right now shows just
Okay.
that eyebrow to it, to the French doors.
And so how are you gonna stop that hardy board at the front? At the front doors?
Next to the windows, you mean? Next to
No,
the doors? You're talking about next to the doors, right?
Yes.
So you have an internal reveal that comes out, right? So that you trim the return into the doors, and that then helps with butting the siding to it.
Do you have a detail of that you can show us?
No, we didn't go into that level of detail. I mean, that would be in all the construction drawings, yes. I don't have a detail of that right now.
All right, you wanna talk about, let's, talk about your side stair. I think last time we were talking about trying to square that off or, you know, making it more rectilinear. Still, see, you still have that kind of angled down at that side stair. And the stairs are exposed.
Yes, the stairs are exposed. They're, they're metal stairs there. Excuse me. Again, you'll see next door, you see them, these ones here, so that they'll be matching those. I actually have a photograph here somewhere. Let me just find that for you.
Sure, the city's gonna let you do that. That, right now, like before when we talked about it last time, you know, he had this kind of angled and it should be either straight down. I mean, it's the only angle on the whole project and everything else is rectilinear and it's coming through.
Completely, yeah.
And since that's means of egress, I think the city's gonna make him enclose that a little bit. The example that he showed us is probably, since it's zero lot line.
Sorry, could you explain that again for concern?
On the side elevation, if you could pull up one of your side elevations, we talked about squaring off that, no, your overall elevation, exterior elevation on A400. That you have that angled CMU on the side and then that stair kind of comes out. We talked about kind of squaring that up before, whether, you know, I think you're gonna have a lot line issue because your zero lot line is a means of egress, right? Up there, so it probably needs to be protected. But, I don't know, it's the only place in the whole project to have an angle there in your ceiling.
Oh, you're talking about up here at the top?
Right,
I don't see a problem with squaring that off. Sorry, I wasn't aware that was a, I didn't see that on the notes. But that's, yeah, I mean, that's not a problem. It's actually easier to square it off for us.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, and both sides on the elevation are now CMU, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
There's both sides as well. We, you know, I don't know if you're aware, but both sides have properties already designed, ready to build. I think they're coming before you as well. So both sides would be,
I have a question, and
sure.
I hope you can answer, because this is a zero lot line condition. And Ron mentioned about openings on the, I guess it's east and west. I don't see any windows, but I'm just curious, when you build this kind of porch like you have on the front, as a zero lot line condition, what happens when the other side is built? Because they would technically be able to build up against your porch, is that correct?
Yeah.
So that's probably not the, what you're proposing is probably not the most foolproof method of maintaining the character of the neighborhood, because that would be a really awkward condition unless when the property next door is developed, they also choose to follow this pattern.
But, okay, so, but the guidelines say you need to set it back with a porch or balconies or whatever, so next door would do exactly the same, correct?
I
So
don't know,
the-
Potentially.
they could build to the property line if the design is appropriate.
Right.
Because there are zero lot line conditions. So I'm just wondering if, I mean, for the purpose of your project, for whatever happens on the other side, you might want to consider bringing in the porches to give you that, the reading or the definition of a front porch, no matter what happens on the other side. You
So-
wouldn't want a wall built against the three at the front, which could potentially happen.
I mean, obviously I can't plan for future neighbors or anything like that, but, you know, they would have, they would have to design something that, I mean, it's for fire regulations, you can't have windows within, I think it's 10 feet, I think the code is. So they would have to design it so the windows are that far apart anyway, or they have a fire barrier between the two. I think that's code issue, not.
Well, maybe I'm not expressing myself correctly. You can't have a window on these sides, but you can have an open porch?
Yes,
By code, you can?
I'm fairly certain you can. I don't recall anything.
Ron Vila, staff for Historic Preservation. Simon and myself talked last week. We talked about there might be some minor adjustments to the front balcony to come in. Right now, it's the full width of the facade.
Right.
In the future, or as this goes through a developmental review, and when he comes in with his construction drawings, there might be some relief, maybe 2 to 3 foot on each side, so the balcony won't run the whole way across the front. I'm gonna rely on plans examiner to give us that information.
Okay.
But I understand your logic, I understand your path going forward.
Yeah.
As presented, we haven't received any comments on the negative, but as the city gets more into it, there might be some modification.
And in terms of the patterns we see within the historic neighborhood, that would be more appropriate.
It would be, sometimes you see, on Seventh Avenue, you have your commercial vernacular that the balconies kind of all engage. On the residential, properties were built to the code at that time, which were really relaxed, and today we have the building codes now. So what I'm envisioning is if the project is approved today, to allow some modifications to that front facade, that the balconies will be applied, but not the full width.
And that would be up to building construction review.
They will delegate to us code requirements. And then we'll make sure it's compatible with the direction you provided today.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
I had a question. I had a question on the finish for the garage mesh. Yeah, how big are the holes? And do you know what type of finish that is?
Don't know, but I've got this photograph, you remember I brought this before, it's a screen to enable sight lines, basically, as you're backing out or pulling into that garage.
Yeah.
So it's standard vehicle screening you would find in car parks. I couldn't tell you exactly what those hole sizes are.
Okay.
But you'll see from this photograph here, that's the kind of effect that we want to give it. So, it gives a barrier, but at the same time, it's allowing you to see both directions for safety.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I don't have any.
Okay. So we've asked some questions. You have you have 5 minutes for rebuttal, summarize any of your comments, and then we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing.
Yeah, but I would just say that, we've approached, researched, developed the design to account for a lot of the comments that were made last time. As Ron says, there's gonna be some need with permitting, with plans review to change sizes, account for, the fire regulations, et cetera, et cetera. We feel we're now consistent with the design guidelines. If there are particular, guidelines that the panel has in terms of the trim or anything, then that's not a huge issue to correct, and we can correct that, not a problem. I was really pleased to have a neighbor here in support. That's fantastic. I had no idea, so that's really, put a smile on my face. We're trying to keep consistent. We're trying to build up Ybor in the way that it's supposed to be. I've met with Ron numerous times on this project, and I'm hoping that you'll see, this is a client who wants to live in this house, who wants to live on that street, and he wants to build something that's in keeping, and that's what we feel we've designed. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. We can now have some discussion on the case amongst ourselves. Mr. Torres?
Aside from the trim and taking the shutters off, squaring off the back, and the setback elevation in the back, I think that looks good.
I think the project's come a long way. It's been very sensitive to our comments from the last time it was before us. I'm still concerned a little bit with the volume of the three-story front porches. I would have hoped that we would have already had that issue resolved as to whether it could be the full width of the property or not, because then if it isn't, staff can probably take care of it in terms of modifying the proportions. But I think, that said, I still think it's a little bit too tall, and it wouldn't have been that unusual to have like the first height of the first level, a certain height, and then it kind of graduates smaller. When looking at your section, it looks like you might be able to bring down the third floor a foot and a half. I think it would go a long way towards emphasizing the bottom, the more important floor where you enter. And then also, more importantly, I think it would help to reiterate that the porch is really sort of an appendage to the volume of the house, which is the pattern we see in the district. And it would also begin to expose the parapet a little bit more, which again would be very historic. But other than that, we were asked to comment on the Juliet balconies. I don't particularly see them as a large issue. They're on the back. So I think they're fine as shown.
I don't have that big concern that you do about the porches and what happens in the future. If looking at the other buildings on the street, it appears that the front of the porch kind of lines up with the front of those other buildings, plus whatever happens to their sides, we're gonna get a look at. I do agree that cutting the width of the porches down, not the full width, would help an awful lot to create more of an appendage than, the part of the building. It's cut down on the top side, and that would, kind of reinforce that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's my constant struggle with this project. It's an interesting block. That block on Fifth Avenue is kind of, you got modern side on the west side, and more traditional towards the east side there with the hardy board and the single family homes. The church, as a historic property area is kind of irrelevant to what's going on in that project, but I think there's enough, respect paid there to the direct adjacent structures. What I struggle with is that front porch. This is a CMU building, and it just seems like it's 3 stories of stucco right in your face with no trim. You transition, if you work from the back, you've got CMU, then it goes to a hardy board back face to CMU columns out front with no trim, and it's, and I think, going back to your comment about, okay, if they have to set that back, you take this whole volume and you bring that whole porch in a little bit, that sets it back and makes it a whole different element. But since it's spread out to the full facade, now it's right there as one whole solid element. And I don't know if that's a good precedent that you see is stucco columns to a hardy board siding back to a CMU structure. It's almost like everything up front that's added on the front needs to be wood or hardy board.
The columns are wood.
They're clad in stucco.
No, I thought he's shaking his head. You would ask that question, you may have misunderstood. The beams are stucco, but the columns are very simply detailed. They're wrapped in hardy board.
So stucco right here, right? That's in the back.
The applicant is shaking his head, so if you look here,
Then it needs to be detailed as trimmed out.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's, and the rendering is misleading because there would be a transition of material, which would then,
That's my main
Yeah.
concern, because you look at this, and I mean, that through the
Yeah.
section, that's
Right.
concrete and stucco.
yeah. No, I think the applicant is saying that
cement stucco. So,
the beam is cement stucco, but then the columns are wrapped in hardy board, and there's no trim expressed right now. That's something we could ask for.
so, I mean, is that something that you'd think would be more, you know, if you had a trim here and be able to set that out,
Well,
just as a pediment?
when we last saw it, we asked that the trim be simplified, so I think the applicant was expressing that, you know, he'd be open to having some kind of trim, but doesn't want to take it back more towards the Charleston look. I agree, I would think the project would be immensely better if we just went ahead and asked if the porches were inset, you know, 6 inches or a foot. But I think that
That's
then,
not what's in front of us.
I know,
So,
and then it also changes the pattern of the windows and stuff, so.
all right, so these columns then are then going to be clad in hardy?
Right, so we should probably ask for more detail as to the transition between.
That doesn't show up on the drawings at all.
I know.
It shows as one plane and one material.
For like a before and after, like what was presented in June, and with the column detail.
I mean, we could make that a part of the conditions here, if you want. But I just don't see it in the drawings, so, in what was presented.
Well, do you feel that this project is ready for a approval with conditions? Or are there still enough outstanding issues?
I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, I could, I'd just like to see what that looks like in a little bit more. We're taking a leap of faith. We made comments on this before to come back with some changes. They weren't, made or fully defined.
I don't know what the
You know.
process with the city is, but I'd hate to have us continue it, to ask for more detail, and then it still might change once again, once the building department reviews it. So, is there a,
Well, that's,
You know,
we're gonna have to address that later on if something like that does
because
happen,
that could
you know.
change it completely if he has to inset the porch 8 inches on each side, or a foot on each side.
Yeah.
That it has to come back, I mean,
Well, it would need to, because that's significantly affecting the front
Yeah.
elevation, which is really, on this project, that's the only thing we have.
okay.
So, I mean, everything else is kind of what he does internal there. The other issue, I guess, with the Juliet balcony, the railing on the back, I don't have any issues with that, with the, and the rest of the materials, and I want to see this going, but I just don't understand that front
Okay.
facade.
What's customary for approving with conditions? Is it like a 3-set, 5-set? You don't want.
So you could do like a preliminary with conditions, you could set it with conditions, we can defer to, you give a final approval with conditions to meet with staff and work through this. So there's options there.
Well, I have the conditions, or the outstanding issues for me are to provide documentation for the porch elevation to staff, to refurbish the historic granite curb, which he's expressed he's going to provide details of the column trim and the transition of the hardy board siding.
Clearly define which finish is gonna be where.
Yeah, more details on the finishes and the transitions between the wood and the hardy board. To modify the rear stair detail to meet code, and then to review the length of the front porch, or actually I should say the width of the front porch, in regards to meeting the building department codes, and then also consider lowering the height of the third floor porch to bring the scale down. Those would be the conditions I would attach to an approval. The biggest issue the biggest issue at that point would be what the building department says, in which case it would probably have to come back to us to make sure that all the proportions on the front meet the guidelines. Or we could continue.
There's no point in approving if you're gonna come back anyway.
Well, that's something that's beyond our, if that something happens and it materially affects the front elevations, it would come back in front of us, or it could be handled by staff. I think those conditions are appropriate in what was discussed.
And cover our concerns.
Yeah. Just, you know, you have 30 minutes to make a presentation up here, and, you know, everything was piecemeal. Oh, it's here and here. You have a nice PowerPoint presentation, make your presentation. That's your time to make your presentation to us, instead of letting us dig through all this information and find this, right? There's a whole PowerPoint we didn't see, so it's frustrating.
Do you want to ask him what he prefers?
If we're gonna make a motion, whether it's final or preliminary with any conditions, we need to state those conditions, and we'll ask the applicant if he concurs with those application, conditions on the record, and then we can move forward.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to make a motion for a final approval with the conditions I just outlined.
Well,
Let me go ahead and state it. Okay, so this would be a final approval with conditions. Move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in BLC 22-131 for the property located at 1915 East Fifth Avenue for new construction of a single-family residence with the following conditions outlined. That the applicant provide documentation to staff, that the porch elevation being proposed is consistent with other properties along the block, that the applicant refurbish and complete the historic granite curb along the property as required, that the applicant provide additional detailing of all transitions between the hardy board siding proposed and the stucco detailing, including at the front elevation windows and French doors and the corner detail, that the applicant modify the rear stair detail to comply with building code, and that the applicant consult with construction services regarding the zero lot line condition on the east and the west side, and how that may or may not affect the position of the front porch, specifically its length, and that the applicant consider lowering the height of the overall three-floor porch, specifically the third floor elevation, to reduce the mass of the projection and allow for the cornice to read more strongly from the street. Because then, based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project would be consistent with the Ybor City Design Guidelines of the City of Tampa for new construction, because its overall massing, siding, materials are consistent with those in the guidelines.
I second.
Okay. There's been a number of conditions placed upon this application. Is the applicant okay with these conditions placed upon them?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Applicant concurs. Okay, all in favor of said motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Motion carries 3-1.
Thank you.
Okay, next case, BLC 22-152.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Vila, staff with Historic Preservation. So BLC 22-152 is for the address of 2903 North 10th Street. Currently, it's a vacant parcel. The zoning attached to the parcel is YC8. Just to get you familiar with the setbacks in YC8, you have 10 in the front, you have 5 on each side, and you have 20 in the rear. The request is for new construction for single-family residents with site improvements. There was some past action at this location. In April of '21, there was a fire at that site that totally destroyed the contributing structure that was there. And then the request in front of you this morning to reconstruct on that site. Moving to the vicinity map. just to get your bearings, you have the commercial core of 7th Avenue here. As you move to the north, you have Interstate 4, and then you have a pocket of contributing structures and non-contributing structures, but mostly contributing, that were expanded into the Ybor City area in 2013. Property in question is circled in that area. As you zoom in and you look at the Sanborn map, this is 10th Street. There was an alley in 1929. There is no longer an alley, so all access with a vehicle is going to have to come off the primary street. To the south, you have 19th Avenue, and to the north, you have 21st Avenue, which is our northern boundary in Ybor City. This is looking from above. You see the fabric that's there. And if you notice, the YC8 allows for larger parcels. When you look at YC2 on 5th Avenue that we just looked at, you see the vernacular of the homes. They're a little tighter together. Here on the Sanborn map, you see the larger parcels. This is the subject site, but you see the density is still there, but not right up against each other. This is looking at the cleared site. As I stated, there's no alley. This is just looking at the site from a little farther back. Once again, I like to start with the public experience. You have the street, you have some granite curbing, you have the sidewalk, you have a remnants of some of the fencing that was there that you'll get into if there's any fencing on this request. Some of the surrounding areas, you see the setback that's established here. This is a contributing structure and elevation from grade. This is the abutting site to the north. This is a contributing structure to the south. Once again, the setbacks, the welcome walls, how it approaches the sidewalk, and then elevation from grade. This is a fairly wide street, although not indicated that there's parallel parking, there is parking that happens throughout the day. And at the completion of 10th Street, as it meets 19th Avenue, you have different vernacular of some of the homes that are there. You have this one that has an engaged porte cochere, and its neighboring property that also has that architectural element. That concludes the photo presentation. I have the agent address the board. Should be here.
Good morning. C.R. Hero, H-E-R-R-O. I'm the owner and the builder of the site. For context, I am a home builder in the Tampa Bay area, but this is for my personal home that I intend to have primarily habitate. I put this on a thumb drive, so I'm going to walk you through. Ron, do you know? There we go. So I thought it would be appropriate to walk through some of the design priorities, walk you through the neighborhood, walk you through the siting, the materials, and then the ultimate design plan. So as Ron walked through, this is a 50 wide, 110 lot. So with 5-foot setbacks on the side, the intention is to build a 2-story, 40-foot wide, 44 deep, single-family home. The design priorities are obviously this is in historic. This is a front porch-dominated architectural design. Elevate the slab to be in line with the elevated design. For transparency, the intent is to set the top of slab 18 inches above grade. Do a trim feature around the bottom of it, but this is intended to be a slab on grade building that shows is elevated, and then the front porch is truly elevated with the truss system. We'll go through some of the reference architecture. Ron walked through where this is. This is up north of the 4 and east of the 215. It is I thought the polite way was referring to the contributory and non-contributory architecture, so I wanted to walk you up and down the street to kind of look at what we're trying to do to augment the architecture, pull from the contributing architecture, and enhance this block. So on the southeast, this is that corner house adjacent to the lot that's being proposed. This is the lot. This is the contributing structure next door. Relevant to this, the corner lot is set 4 foot back from the front. The lot to the north is set 8 foot, so the intention is to set the 6 foot, which is the average between the two, from the front porch to the front porch. And then as you walk north up the street, you can see a varied mix of architectural styles and conditions. a lot of non-contributing structure, a lot of slab on grade, a lot of attached parking structure, which is going to become very relevant as we talk about the architecture, because although there is parking on the street, the parking, as you can see, is very dense, and there's a lot of just cars in front lawns, and part of the architectural design is to look at the attached parking structure and the contributing architecture and look to enhance this. This is another example of this two-story with a portico, and this is kind of one of the primary structures on the street that I looked at as historical cues when doing the initial design. But once again, lots of slab on grade, lots of attached parking, lots of various conditions in this property. So, you know, the opportunity to build something new and to enhance this property and to reference the historical nature was what really attracted me to this lot and why I'm very interested to live in this community. So this is probably the closest reference architectural design that I based my home on. This house is immediately south and west, about 7 houses from this lot. It is, you know, I grew up in Chicago, and this is a very simple craftsman, almost 4 squarish designed house, which I really like the aesthetics, and I think makes very good use of a narrower 50-foot lot and developing livable square structure. Obviously, this house has a detached garage. There's a tremendous amount of non-conforming attached garages, both fronting and rear. That will become up again in the design. And then all these portico, which are within the same block of this house, I think adds to some historical relevancy and consistency and informs the design. This, once again, is the lot. These are the dimensions and the setbacks. It's one lot in. As we discussed, it's in YC8. The intention, because there's a 4-foot setback to the south and an 8-foot to the north, is to setback 6 feet. Setback off the side yards 5 feet per code. Elevate the top of slab 1.5 feet above the front elevation to read as elevated. Extend that livable elevated poured in place slab with a truly joisted front porch to continue the elevated look, and then to put in a 333 ribbon drive on the south side of the building to access parking. This is the site plan. As you can see, it sets back, as we talked about, 6 foot from the front of the property with a extended porch. It is basically a 12-foot, 18-foot, 12-foot design. Originally, it was intended to be completely square, but we felt that the massing and the juxtaposition of what you'll see in the roofing adds some architectural interest and reads a little better from the site plan. So you'll see that there is some elevation changes to support that. For material palette, once again, coming from Chicago, I'm a big fan of just simple recessed panel craftsman. So corner boards, square, raised seam metal roof, recessed panel doors, recessed panel columns, simple trim around the windows, simple trim around the corners, 3-inch and 5-inch lap siding. These were the original designs. The first on the upper left was a very 4 squarish design. I was assured that the massing for the garages would not work. We then went through an iteration where we made livable space on the north side of the house. We pulled the garage back, created a portico, and then did a recessed garage with craftsman doors. It was felt that that really wasn't appropriate for the design. It also, quite honestly, when we raised the second floor on posts, it started looking like a house on stilts, which I wasn't a big fan of. So what we've done is we maintained that craftsman 4 square look on the design, and then created a full pull-through portico on the other side with livable space above. Once again, the design elements are very simple, very square, very symmetric craftsman 4 square designs. The material is obviously recessed panel columns, simple hardy trim boards, a 5-inch lap siding. The roof is actually a structural insulated panel, so it'll read as a thick roof with simple siding up the side. And then standing white metal seam roof. So the color palette is a simple white and gray with black trim. And that is, those are the reference designs. That is the intended structure. That is my presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Avila, staff for Historic Preservation. This project went through different iterations, as he expressed this morning. We came to a point that our staff's finding has changed. We had it inconsistent originally because he had the garage engaged and working till, last week on the project is what you saw this morning. So referencing page 3 with the staff report with the Ybor City Design Guidelines and the compatibility with those guidelines, the inconsistent application was removed because the engaged garage was removed. There is a design exception if this project is to move forward. The underlying zoning is YC8. YC8 calls for a 10-foot setback from the front property line. He's going to do the averaging. That is an application that is done through the zoning department. He makes a separate application. They route it to us, and if he shows the reference along that block that meets the criteria, he can bring it up to meet the averaging on that block. So that should be in your motion if it's to move forward. On the staff report, he did eliminate the engaged garage, but that creates some other concerns as illustrated on the plans. There are some individual components, material components that should be addressed as far as the site paving, the walkway, the ribbon drive, if there's any additional walkways, things of that nature. Fencing, colors are expressed, and you do have concerns over those. The exterior material originally was a insulated metal. He had talked about today about some lap siding. I believe it's moving towards the hardy side. Additional information to discuss the skin of the building. It is lacking windows on some of the elevations. As you look at the drawings, I think additional discussion should take place on the window locations and proportions. And as you go through the staff report as well, a section. He called out all the materials as he went through his presentation. I think to define from grade all the way to the ridge should be called out on the exterior elevations and the casings and the materials used to encase the doors and the windows and the trims, and how the siding terminates from the wall to wall as well. That completes my portion. I'll be here to answer any questions.
Ron, I have a question. Normally, when we are considering a project, we have a more complete set of drawings. I don't see a site, I did see a plot plan, but not necessarily a site plan. Elevations, construction sections. Is this application ready to be reviewed by the board?
I believe he's got additional information. Let's see what he could provide this morning, and then we can make that determination.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I uploaded everything to the cell. I thought you guys had access to that. So there is a full architectural design and engineering done. That in architectural design did include full side cuts. It's a CMU construction. Once again, elevated slab poured in place. It's a SIP roof structure with a ridge beam, gables running on the side north to south. I can answer any construction questions you've got as far as materials.
Yeah, I mean, we can give you additional time to present that. I mean, do you have it on your jump drive? Or, we saw some drawings in our packet, but they need to be presented at this public hearing. This is your opportunity to present your application to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So what pieces would you like to see?
Changes all the time, so, as you know.
Right.
We're in the process of pulling that information up, so then he could go through that complete presentation.
Just to be concise with your time, what exactly are you looking for, just so I can make sure I address it succinctly?
Whatever you need to address. I think you heard some of the comments right there, but, we need to see elevation, site plan, things that I talked about at the beginning.
So, so obviously, the intent of this was elevations. The site plan, the intention of the site plan with the property drawn, the conforming ribbon driveway drawn, the feedback from comments on fluting the drive. So that is the site plan. And then if you want to see a cut through of the house, I've got in the architectural plan, so as soon as that draws up, I'm super happy to pull that up.
I think we need to see the roof plan, and all the elevations, some sections, how you're gonna frame out that front covered patio.
Yeah. Yeah, that's,
You know,
it's
and
all
I
in the
think, you know,
architectural,
we've
so.
seen multiple iterations here. I know it was metal panels at one point in time, and I think it changed to CMU, and now.
It was always CMU. The question was, to create a thermal break, I was looking at a 5-inch lap with aluminum siding, painted aluminum siding. And so, it's still going to be a 5-inch lap siding. The question is whether or not, there's pushback on using a insulated cladding 5-inch lap siding to create a thermal break.
Do we want to go into discussion and then come back to it?
You mean ask questions?
Well, you know, I guess kind of stay.
Like it's,
Yeah, I'd like to have the whole presentation. We'll give them a couple minutes to get this pulled up.
While they pull up architecture, do you guys have any design discussions you want to talk about? Massing, materials?
I'd like to see the whole presentation before we get in. Is there any fencing on the site?
The only fencing that would be on, so it's surrounded by fencing, so the intention would be to put gates set back half the distance of the house, just to create a perimeter around the backyard, because I've got dogs. The perimeter fencing varies, but the rear fence is solid PVC fencing, so I was just gonna put in, right, it's 5-foot setback, I was just gonna put in gates. But I'm certainly receptive to what sort of gates would be most appropriate. Yeah, around there, the architectural plans are probably what they're looking for the most.
It's showing up there?
that's the site plan.
Yeah. The updated plans is,
I have a,
yeah, that'll work. No, it's, we'll keep, unless, yeah, no, that's still the,
That's this presentation?
no, he wants the architectural plans. They're in there. It'll be, oh, these are all renderings.
CR, is that this one?
No, it's a PDF of the architectural plans. It
What's the
should,
label here?
go forward in the pages. Site plans, renders. Let's look at the, I'm trying to look at what's the big file. Keep going, Ron. Yeah.
There's a wall section, I see it. It's labeled the wall section.
Yeah, if you look at the Hero 07 2022 on the very top, that big,
This one?
yep. So, that is the elevation with the porch details? Yep. And then if you go back and you open up the wall section, Ron. So that traditional CMU, floor joist, SIP roof. And then if you close that, then we'll go pull up the full architectural renderings with all the,
Do the commissioners have any questions on this section, this wall section?
Well, here you're showing a sloped roof, all your renderings show a flat roof.
no, it's a 412. It's the renderings because they're at street, you're not seeing that 412, but it's a conventional 412 SIP roof, ridge beam construction, gables east and west. Those are 1 foot overhangs.
Is that what you see on the historic properties? And
I
then
mean, I mean, obviously, we see a tremendous amount of variance within that. I mean, obviously, it's very easy to extend those tails if you wanted to see 1.5 feet.
And are there elevations so we can see the
Yeah.
relationship between the windows, the solid and the voids?
So Ron, if there is a full architectural plan, do that very, the very top that just says hero. Did we already look at that one? 'Cause one of these is the full architectural set. No, that's still the. If you advance, let's look at it. Photo, keep going. The very first page? Okay. Ron, can you go back to page 1, please?
Architectural elevation in the second tab.
No, those are the renderings, not the, there's a full plans, architectural plan set in there. No,
Doesn't seem like we really have a complete presentation in order for us to do much beside just make comments and do a continuation.
Well, you can only continue if that's what the applicant's asking.
Oh, okay.
See, I don't see it in here, is it?
it's for sure in there. Go to page 2. Do that, see that 98.48 megabyte? That's gotta be it, that really, no, that's a present, no, it's a presentation, never mind.
This one?
No, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, keep going. Yeah, go last.
Well, I think these are critical items to take a look at our roof plan, our exterior elevations, besides rendering, so,
Is it
it's this,
architectural elevation, the second one?
I think everything I've uploaded is, recently was all elevations, yep. So, I mean, obviously, these renderings show you roof lines and materials, and architecturally, what would you like to establish? Are you looking at construction method, or, I mean, because you've got side elevations, front elevations.
We can only ask you questions at this point. We have to close the meeting and then enter our discussion phase, right?
hold on. I mean, how do we want to handle this? Because, I mean, we have incomplete information to look at this presentation. There's specific items here. I mean, can we table this application till the end of the meeting, move on to our other applicants, and come back? Is that going to give you ample time to be able to get your
Yeah,
presentation?
I've got everything on my laptop, so.
Okay. Or is everyone okay with that? Because I know you have the information, we've seen the drawings, but we have questions about the drawings that we need to be able to reference.
Do you have elevations?
Yeah.
Site plan elevation? Then why don't we move to the next case, get them out of here, and then we'll pick this back up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and just for clarity, these are not the kind of drawings we need to make a final determination.
Yeah, once again, I apologize.
Okay.
When I uploaded everything, I thought you had access to it, so I'll grab the architect.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and table it. I don't know if we need an official motion or not, or just kind of table it and we'll move on to our next case, which is BLC 22-156, Sanchez and Haya Real Estate Company.
No, that was,
Mr. Fernandez.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dennis Fernandez, Architecture Review and Historic Preservation Manager. Based on Commissioner Hammer's submission of a conflict of interest, this item will be automatically continued to the September 27th public hearing. There's no need for a motion based on your rules of procedure.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to case BLC 22-154, 1917 East Fifth Avenue, if everyone's ready to move ahead there.
This is on Fifth Avenue in Ybor City. The zoning attached to it is YC7. YC7 has no setbacks. The request this morning is for new construction for a single-family structure with an attached garage with site improvements. This is moving towards the vicinity map. Property in question is circled here. It's below 7th Avenue, which is the commercial core. 5th Avenue, we just looked at a different project. This is just a couple parcels to the east. Once again, there is an active alley that runs to the rear of that. Looking at the Sanborn map, you see the density here. Property in question, 5th Avenue, 19th Street and 20th Street run north and south. This is showing the lay of the land as it is currently. Property in question is highlighted there, and there's opportunity with the infill property. This is looking at the subject site. Once again, we saw some pictures earlier of property just a couple parcels down. This is the fencing that is currently there. There is no vegetation to speak of that as it moves forward for permitting purposes. What's important is the public spaces, as I mentioned, the approach to the site, the sidewalks, and the curbing. This is 5th Avenue, looking to the east. Cross Street is 20th. Looking at some of the street parking, looking down 5th Avenue to the west. Once again, some of the recreation of the parkway. There are some power lines up top that when you plant, you have to be concerned about. Directly across the street, you have some non-contributing structures, some contributing structures, and you see the setbacks, and then the condition of the alley. That concludes the photo presentation. I'll have the agent address the board.
Okay, we're ready. Good morning, Board. Carlos Molnar, Soul Design Studio, 1718 East 7th Avenue in Ybor City. I am the owner's agent, along with my colleague, Veronica Alvarez, and we do have the owner that would just like to say a few words to begin the presentation. So.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Packing-Ebuen, Packing-Ebuen. I'm the owner of 1917 East 5th Avenue, and just wanted to very briefly say this morning that we're very excited about this project. We've lived in Ybor since 2005. We live in a row of townhouses on 4th Avenue, and we're just very interested in continuing to build up the residential side of Ybor City. We've hung out in Ybor for many, many years before even just living here. So very excited that this property came up for this possibility to actually happen. So thank you.
All right, good morning. We're going to go through our presentation. I have a script here. I'll keep it concise and to the point and hit your criteria. This house is a culmination of months of design work, working closely with the client and Ron Villa, and how best to utilize a very tight site. I'm going to go to the site plan and begin the presentation here. Let's start here. You can see, great. All right, the lot is zoned YC7, as Ron said. The lot is 33 foot wide by 95 foot 7 inches long with a 0 lot line on each side. The challenge to this project was to create a residence while fitting into the historic character of Ybor City, also express some appreciation of modern design that the client has always loved. Our solution we're going to present here today is what we're going to consider a unification of both those and what we're calling a modern bungalow aesthetic. The design really began on looking at the street, looking at how the neighborhood characteristics developed. As Ron had demonstrated in his presentation, we have historic porches and facades across the street adjacent, but we also have some modern residences to deal with as well. I'm just going to quickly run around the site and then we'll continue on the presentation. So at the front, there's a concrete drive that will be removed. The parkway will be reinstalled. The granite curb, we will work with the City of Tampa to reinstall the granite curb so it is continuous as well. So that will now look, in the parking lot as requested would also be reestablished. So we'll get back to looking like a normal Ybor City street. The house is set back from each side. The front porch is 8'7" off the front from the property line. I'll get into more of the dynamics of the porch, but it is a 6'4" deep front porch. It is set back from the sides as well. On either side of the property, as you can see here, there is an alleyway on one side it's 4'3" from the property line, even though we do know that we have a 0 setback. On the other side it's 4'9". One of the intriguing things, and we'll get into the elevations as we proceed, is there is really two parts to the home, even though it's one contiguous residence. There's the front parcel, the main living parcel. There's a center parcel, which you can see we have stepped back, and you'll see that in rendering form as well. And then the rear parcel, which is the attached garage. The concept there being we really did not want it to feel like a very long alleyway. We wanted to create some breaks, some division in the house, and give it some, what we consider more of an Ybor-esque character to the building. As you go along the back side, you can see that the fencing, there's a cedar fencing that's 6 foot high that works at, okay, sorry, had some flashes there. All right, that the fencing, 6 foot cedar fence, works around the sides, and it does terminate at the back with the garage door. We have been working with City of Tampa and Transportation Division and have received successfully a design exemption for this setback. So that is completed and filed under the ACELA. I'm going to go to my script here, so I stay in line. I'm going to jump now to the elevations. All right, you can see that. Here we go. After many meetings and design options, we decided to take the classic concepts of the Florida bungalow, blend it with some elements of the Sarasota school, as well as some modern design variations. After kind of reviewing the city, looking at it, and Ron did show some nice photographs of the adjacent neighbors, I want to just quickly go through some items here. 1508 North 20th Street, which I believe the owner was here present, has a patio depth of 6'8", but there's a certain styling to it on the historic character. This is one of our neighbors then closer to our site. I'm sure you're all familiar with the modern elements to there. And then this is across the street. Again, depth of patio of 6 foot. This is 1928, 6'8" depth of patio, 1-story structure. 1922, you can hear us referring to some of these as we use them as design elements. 1908 and 1910. And this is a parcel that's a little more commercially graded at the corner, the condition there. So now going back to our front elevation here, blow it up for you to see. The outcome is a street facade that we believe has a prominent front porch and blends with both the adjacent historic buildings and the neighborhood. The proportions of the front porch and the second floor balcony are consistent with balconies like 1922, which I just showed you, as well as 1508. The front porch and the second floor balcony create a scale of relationship to the adjacent historic structures, but also introduce a little bit of modernity as well. Some of the elements I'm going to begin to call out, and I will review these in section for you as well. Going from the top down, the roof fascia is a 12-inch profile. Then moving down to the second floor balcony profile, that is 16-inch deep. And then to the second floor as well, just this horizontal element, that's an 18-inch deep. We believe that's important as you begin to see the renderings because it starts to create a nice scale and really reinforcing those classic bungalow stylings of those pitched roofs. This is a 612 pitched roof, just to give you a feeling for the pitch and an understanding of the vernacular. The railing. The railing is it's going to be an aluminum railing Black aluminum, the top is going to be a 2-inch thick top rail with 1-inch vertical pickets that's stood off the ground for better flow through. It's similar in scale as 1922, as we showed you earlier. I'm going to just briefly go to the sections because I'm addressing elements, but we will go through these sections more critically, but you can see the basic dynamics of the railing specific with the 2-inch top and the vertical pickets. It is up off the ground, consistent with the neighborhood fabric. The windows. We do like to give you a front facade as necessary, but we've given you a couple angles so you can better see in perspective view what the windows look like. These windows are approximately, as you know, window sizes vary fractionally, but it's a 3 foot wide by 6 foot high. It's a 4/4 Marvin all wood window. The black exterior, what you see in the renderings, is consistent with the color palette we've developed. And it'll be a wood interior window. So it's an all wood window with black exterior and wood on the inside exposed. Around the perimeter, in terms of the frame and our window schedule, we have provided a frame detail. What you're going to have around the perimeter, and I apologize, there's a typo there, but it's going to be a 6-inch Hardie trim board around the perimeter and top, square profile. On the bottom, we're going to have a 1x4 protrude vertically, and then that actually, I apologize, that's a typo. It should say a 4-inch fascia board, so that the overall proportion of the bottom sill will be approximately 6 inches. So it'll be a 1x4 and then a horizontal, just to give that little bit of character that's traditional in the Ybor style framing of the window. All right. We've incorporated as you said, a traditional front porch or a front stoop with a brick wrap. I'm going to zoom into some of the renderings here so you can get a better feeling for it. There we go. It'll be a masonry column at the bottom, or pilaster. I was trying to find the exact term of it. It's more of a ground pilaster because it's not actually a column because there's no vertical supporting happening. But it will be a brick-clad masonry with a precast concrete cap that slightly overhangs. Below that, as you can see, will be the more traditional 3x3. This will be in aluminum as well, thick aluminum. Mid-rail that's consistent with the guidelines, most of the times as a seating rail in the traditional times, but it does bring, again, that little element of the historic vernacular. And you can see it in the front. You can see it happening right there. We have also chosen to recess the mail slot into one of the pilasters as a nice little detail. It'll be black as well, just as a little recessed touch. And as you can see on the rendering, we also will be putting the addressing. So we're using this as wayfinding and deliveries as well. But it does begin to set up a certain scale. Speaking more specifically to the porch and hearing some of our previous neighbors, we have taken a complete survey of all the blocks, all the porches on our block. They do vary from as low as 1901, 2 steps, 14-inch high, 7 foot 6-inch deep, to as high as 1912, which is 4 steps, 2 foot 8, 6 foot inches deep. A little tight on the stairs there, but historic. So it does very much range. What ours is, as shown, and you'll see in the sections, is a 2 foot high, 6 foot 4-inch deep. The porch goes almost the entirety of the side, from side to side, minus, you'll see in some of the plans that we set back one of the corners, specific to a detail that we've incorporated. Oh, and it's 22 foot 7 inches wide. On either side, you can see in the renderings here, is that 6 foot high cedar wood fence that begins to bring it in. A couple of the aspects, and I'll get into a full material board we'll present to you shortly, but some of the other colors, you'll have the brick, we'll have the Hardie board siding on all sides, and then we brought in the wood element, bringing the same characteristics of the front fence. The door will bring in that same palette, which is a wooden door, and then the ceilings, as you can see in the soffits, and you'll see in the sections, is a cedar ceiling that is recessed up into the Hardie board trim work to create, again, that sense of warmth on the property. I'm going to go now into a little bit of the drainage as we work our way around. We have a drainage plan provided by our civil engineer, and that was in your packet. Here it is right here. Along the back, the driveway will be ever so slightly sloped on side to side to carry water. We have 2 inlets on either side of the rear that will be carrying. Now, the site is high on the alley, low on Fifth. So the natural flow tendency is towards the street for stormwater retention. What we're doing to prevent for both wear and tear on the house is we're going to collect any water from the alley that comes our way into 2 of those inlets. We will then be carrying the water through a 6-inch PVC pipe through the west side of our property, within our property, to the north, and catch the downspouts along the house as it goes along the sides, and then it'll have a bubbler box along the street in our property as well that will relieve the pressure to the street and actually create what we believe is a cleaner stormwater retention system for the house. On the site plan in red, you will see each of the locations of our downspouts that I'll get into on our roof plan here shortly, but you can see that they've been located, especially here on the back, where they'll be captured, collected into those inlets, and then diverted to the front Fifth Avenue side. I'll just, again, reinforce on the roof plan here. You can see here, we have our storm on either side being captured. One interesting element as I begin to go through elevations is you'll notice that we have a flat roof in the middle. The flat roof in the middle, both for elevation as well as maintenance, is there for all of our mechanical units will be held on a flat roof with a parapet to begin to hide it from view, even though, as you've seen from previous presentations, the site's pretty tight. We've raised them up both for maintenance. There is an attic access, as you can see, that accesses all the units, but it does preserve that ground plane, which on this site is very, very tight. We do not have a lot of it. So that's where that is being maintained right there. And then the back room as well, feeling almost like that mother-in-law suite detached, aesthetically speaking, which I'll review in the elevations. It has its own separate roof. And that, as you can see, that matches the civil plans, does empty to either side and caught by the inlets. All right, I'm going to jump to some of the elevations, just take you around the elevations here. So this is the front elevation as we've discussed, with the door, the 3x6 windows. This is the rear elevation with the garage door on the side. I will go through the plans here shortly and show you the windows on the back. Those are mostly secondary spaces, they're not main rooms. And then you can see that there will be, again, the doors opening to the side alleys on either side. This is where you can begin to see the character of the side profile. Again, that center volume is slightly recessed to break up that linearity along that side facade. On the east side, there is a courtyard in the middle that we'll show you here in plan work, but we have created a trellis work that ties in nicely to the side trellis work on the front. Provides a bit of screen, but also allows some airflow through, and then when you're in this little vestibule of space, it's an interior courtyard, it doesn't feel so claustrophobic. So it begins to give you some avenues of view, some nice circulation patterns, and but it does provide just a slight bit of privacy with that trellis work. You can see the window patterns on the side, and then you can also see that side trellis work that's on the front porch, on the western side of the front porch. Beginning, again, to bring those language from the Fifth Avenue side inward into the project. The other side is, again, just windows and a corridor to the garage and the apartments on the second floor. And again, you see this louvered system of really pulling, that was a little bit of the Sarasota school pulling in with some of the louvers and the Florida vernaculars, letting wind flow through, but creating a slight sense of privacy. I'm going to walk you through the plans so you can see what happens on each floor. All right. So as you come in off the front porch, as again the 6'4" front porch, there is a more modern styling door. You come into the main living and dining area. There is an open tread wooden stair, again bringing some of those modernity aspects into the interior of the project. It's very much an open kitchen, but one of the nice things is, as we indicated to this home, is it does have this interior courtyard where it has a small pool with a little beach here. But the niceties of the design is this whole area can be opened up to this outdoor patio with these sliding doors that move away and create a zero-edge corner on the interior facade, really making it an interior outdoor space. That's one of the reasons for the side design of the louvers, so it doesn't create that two-story hall wall element, but does intrigue a little bit of the breezes and kind of the breezeways, which is traditional to the bungalow shotgun style. There is an elevator for aging in place for these clients, because hopefully this is the last one they live in for the rest of their lives, as we're designing it. It goes down to the garage, which our site, even though, which is as we said, that the alley is higher in the back. We have had to deal with some grading issues for Florida, 2 foot across the site, which is unusual for us, but we have worked our grade points down to keep the garage slightly lower. There is a workout area in the back in the garage, and then a nicely is that the pool is opened to the garage, so we can open that up. On the second floor, as you arrive at the top of the stairs, there's the master bedroom, accessible with windows to the interior courtyard, as well as to the little sitting area, which is your roof access to the second floor to maintain the units, the elevator, and then as you can see, the guest bedroom suite as the laundry, the guest bathroom, and the closet, which again begins to speak a little bit to the window patterning and the reasons for the sizing of the rear. Key for this was each of the bedrooms do have access to that center courtyard for that for the amenity garden space that we've created. All right. If you could please grab the materials. I'm going to begin to go through our material palette presentation here. Actually, while she's starting to bring that up, my colleague here, I'm going to quickly go through the section. I can go through any of these sections, but I'm going to go from starting at the roof and work my way down. That's pointed towards them, please. So as I indicated, oh, thank you. Working from the top, we gave you some dimensions. This is a 12-inch fascia. We have provided the materials here. That is a hardy board fascia, which we have. By the way, some of these, if you want to touch them, are on Velcro, so we can remove some of these and let you touch them if you've never touched a brick before, which I'm sure most people have. You can see the wall system that we've got. You can see that moving down to the second floor balcony facade, there is a 1 foot 4 inch. Working down with our window details with a siding and trim work package described, you can see the balcony structure. Moving down to there, you can see there's a 4-inch step up to the living area. You can see our stairs in the background with our stem wall providing the 2 foot distance between grade. You can see the 3-inch post here sectioned off, as well as a second floor balcony. And from there, we're going to move into our material palette. Mr. Vila is so kind to become our Vanna White here. Thank you, sir. This has been presented to you. Starting from top, we have this will be a Tesla paneled roof system. We have worked with them for the past 4 months. We have a contract in place with them to move forward and been, even though asked many times, assured that we will have a good delivery time. I know that's a big question. If this is what we're going for, yes, this is what our intent is to build. I had described the window system. This is the Marvin window all wood system. On the front elevations for the lights along the facade, we've included a globe style light with black trimmings to bring in again that Ybor-esque facade material. The brick material that Mr. Vila showed there is in place. It's a facade brick. It's not a thorough brick as it's attached to masonry structures. The siding, as you've seen as well, is a painted siding. We do have the color palettes with specific colors, but we have provided you the Sherwin-Williams colors. These are the approved colors by the client. You can see just tonalities of off-whites, some grays, and technically not a black, it's like a tricorn black, but it's a slightly grayed, charcoal-ish color. That will be the same color for the aluminum elements as well as the lighting, so we're going to try to bring that color throughout the residence to act as the pop as well as the wood. We have selected a front door. This is Exclusive Wood Doors. It's the company. It is a pivot door with the same coloration. The hardware will have the same black tonality with a vertical bar at the door as shown in the pictures and in the exterior elevations. And then the aluminum railing that you've seen that we've described as a 2 top rail, single picket. Next is the garage door in the back. We have given you the specifications on the garage door. It is a dark oak, but the intent is to find that coloration that brings in the cedar that we're trying to establish as part of the soffit materials and the fencing. You've seen the cedar fencing, and then the side western facade off the front porch is that aluminum louvered system, as well as the interior black aluminum system that carries through. An articulation of our wooden soffit system that is recessed, and then this is just one of our exterior side doors that's going to be painted the color of the wall. Our wall system. Some of you may be familiar with this. Sorry if I'm away from the mic. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. This is a Fox block system. Can I have the little fun models for a minute? Thank you. This is an energy efficient system. I have provided here a detail of the wall system. The wall system is a R23.5 rated wall system. It is approved by FEMA standards as a resilient, durable material. If I may approach the bench, these are some toys if you'd like to actually touch and see what they look like. This will show you the method of assembly. It is effectively a Lego. Those of us that have played with them as kids know what it goes. They go together. They contain the rebar systems. They snap into these grids that you can see here. This is a close, I won't say zero waste system, but very close to zero waste system. Minor form boards are used, but the goal is to keep this as zero waste, highly resistant project as possible, and you'll see why in a moment. We have used this wall system before several times successfully, and it has been described as living inside of a Yeti cooler. It is sound resistant, energy resistant, and has been tested at 220 miles per hour. So this house will be here for a long time. It is a thoroughly poured interior core system. Secondarily, as we talked about, have some materials here on Tesla. I apologize, we did request several times a sample of their panel. They are so behind on manufacturing, we were not able to get one. They did provide us these materials. This is what one of these solar shingles will look like. This house will be completely covered. Every roof surface will have this appearance. They're not all actual photovoltaics. Most of them are actually not. We'll show you a diagram of it. But this is the date dimensions, 45 by 15. I have some images that you can begin to see how the assembly method is done. It is done just like a shingle, where they start at the lower edge and they overlap and work their way up. Each piece has these solar tile connections, so they're intricately connected, and then the pathways are run below the roof system and to the power panels that will be housed in the garage system. That's where the power wall will be stored. Here's some other pictures of what it looks like during assembly. You can see that even the ridge cap is done to match the vernacular of the wall system. Here are some final pictures of what it should look like when it's all said and done. It, in all appearances, does have the look of a shingle roof with all the benefits of it. Next, this is actually from Tesla. This is the calculations on the panel. This house, the use has been calculated at 2,024 kilowatts per year. This house will produce 12,546 kilowatts. We will be using approximately 16.6% of the power that is produced by this house. When I spoke to you about the panels, this is a layout of the panels, which are the ones in white are the true producing panels, and there's a term that they use, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it, producing versus non-producing. So the black are non-producing, the white are producing. That is all we need to produce 6 times more of the power than this house actually anticipates. So the logical question is, why would you produce more power than what you would consume? TECO has a program that the owner will be signing up for that is called SHARE program, where the energy from net zero houses will be donated to non-for-profits, like the Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, and the Diocese of St. Pete. We estimate that we will be producing, again, 82 to 83% of our power will be donated every year to charity beyond what we have. The combination of the wall insulation with the roof structure and this insulation, the grid is not needed. We do not need it. We're obviously hooking up to both water, power, and everything else. But the goal of this house, as a client has been so overjoyed to do, has been one of not only resilience, sustaining qualities with everything that we've selected, but also donation back to the community. So with that, the presentation is complete. We open up to any questions you may have.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Vila, staff with Historic Preservation. Staff's finding that this application is consistent with the Ybor City Design Guidelines. We reviewed the plans on August 9, 2022. And in his presentation this morning, going through the conditions on the staff report, every condition was addressed. Just want to reiterate that there was an involvement for a design exception for the front yard setback to be reduced. That application has already been reviewed and approved by the City of Tampa. Thank you.
Anyone here from the public wishing to comment on this case? Seeing none, we can ask some questions of the applicant. Start with Mr. Hammer on my left.
I want to make sure I'm understanding, you're not building to the lot line with the house?
We are not, that is correct.
You're staying 5 foot off on each side?
Less than 5 foot, but yes, sir,
Yeah.
that's correct. We will have, on our section, we will have to protect for fire rating, anything 3 foot and under, we will have some And we've already been dealing with the building department there. We'll have to do some fire treatment to those eaves because they're overhang close to the lot line. I can actually show you on the roof plan. 2 foot on one side and 2'11" on the other. So we will have to do some treatment of our overhangs because they're within 3 foot of the property line.
And at 217, or, no, wait, you're at 1917.
Yes, sir.
We looked at one earlier today, was 1915.
That's our neighbor.
Which we know is a solid wall there.
That's correct.
Not gonna have much of a view.
Nope.
But you will get daylight.
We will get daylight. That's correct.
I don't have any other questions.
Just out of curiosity, are you going to be applying for like a LEEDs
Not LEED.
certification? or-
Yes, sir. We've talked about green globes is what we're going to be going through the process, and the owner, having made so many, again, commendable decisions. Our office is part of the 2030 initiative to promote resilience. I think some of you know that I'm part of the AIA state level. This client has, I put on the record, she has been commendable in those efforts to try to meet that goal with us, and it's all we can hope to have clients that will listen and, plan for resilience. As you can see, this house will be very resilient.
Yeah, no, just terrific. It'd be nice to have a home that meets the criteria within the historic.
Yes, sir.
district. No other questions?
Are you guys planning to put a charger in the garage in the back? You didn't,
Inside the garage, there will be
Yeah.
power walls. Yes, sir. For their Tesla car, will be recharged from there.
And same thing for the trash collection. I think it's through the alleyway, right? Or-
That's correct.
Okay.
Actually, I believe it's actually in the front street. It's currently on the front street. And I think there's some discussion of whether it may go to the alley, but at this time, one of the reasons that we do have this, if I can go to the plan for a moment to answer your question. We have a side door. That's the second floor. Right now, at this point, do you see the side door? The idea is if the trash, and again, this is adjustable as things are being discussed for the alley. So at this time, we do have a side door from the garage that can access the side yard. So they would be able to roll it up, go through the east side, and then take it to the front yard, which has another gate. We would love to have it at the alley. It would definitely be beneficial. So we're making accommodations for now and hopefully the future.
Yeah, no more questions.
Yeah, I think the intent is to really use the alley there, but it's the city and it's not consistent throughout the district, so they just default to Fifth Avenue, so.
We would support
But I like the design. It's great. I think, yes, you're zero setbacks, but you don't have to do that all the time. And having a side yard, bringing light into the side of the house is great. Couple questions for you. Gutters, are they half rounds,
Full rounds.
full rounds?
Full rounds.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say it. So the gutter at the top is like it's a flattened round, so it's not a true round,
Down
but then the
to-
verticals coming down are full rounds.
Okay, in the renderings, they looked a little large. I think,
They're gonna be, yeah,
probably it's a 6 and 4.
I
6
believe
inch
so.
For the gutter and then 4 inch for the downspouts, but they're round, half round surrounds.
correct.
And capture 'em. Yeah, just one of the renderings looked a little large. We can
And
stand-
the Revit's a little bit behind some of the flat elevations, even though we generated them from it, yes.
Yeah, and I like the design elements here. I think the fence and, calling the garage, you could stay on that rear elevation.
Sure.
Really, the only thing that kind of bothered me was the window placement on the rear elevation. Yes, it's on the alley, it's the window placement. It's not horrible, but I know the plan behind it dictates what you're doing there, and I think it's
Correct.
more important to bring light into that space as much as you can.
And that was our
Whether it's
intent.
a laundry room, a restroom, and a closet, but bringing some light in there is better than none, so I think that's fine. Yeah, I think the closet one, maybe, I'm not sure how you're gonna bring light. The closet one's the one on the far right.
Yes, that's
So,
correct.
I'm not sure you need light in there, but,
The elevation looked even more bizarre when we took that window out, as I'm sure you can visualize.
yeah. Okay, so we covered that. I like the detail with the mid-rail on the front porch. You wanna talk about the second floor balcony on the front and how you kind of went through that section really quick? I know it's partially, or it's cantilevered.
It is cantilevered, that's correct.
So you're tying into,
The gutter specifically,
no, the balcony.
so the gutter will be collected it will actually travel down, painted the color of the siding, which is not on the rendering, it did not make it on there. It travels inside this structure, and it connects to one of the two posts on the louvered system, of which it then comes out the ground and discharges. So we've hidden as much as we can that gutter system, and that's only for the front porch roof, which would be this here. So you don't quite see it. You see this, we didn't get a chance to render this, but there will be a vertical here, again, meant to blend away. We talked about bringing it into the home, but because of the nature of this wall system, it's so mold resistant and water resistant, we really didn't want to bring water into the envelope at all. So the discussion was to bring it down. But one of the reasons for the depth of this front patio is to use it as a transition from plan left to right, bring it across the underside, take it down one of the poles of the louver system, and then out to discharge.
And you're not, are you gonna use one of those, the louver sidewalls as a column, or is that
Nope.
balcony completely cantilever?
Yes.
And it ties back in through the,
Yes. Through the wall system. That member, which is being connected to the concrete system. One of the benefits of this system, by the way, when you actually do create, you cut out the foam. The way you create your form cut is you cut it out, you put a piece of plywood that brings the concrete structure out to the facade, and then we're gonna be anchoring steel to that to create the cantilever.
okay.
That provides us the height to get the slope to bring the water to the other side. And then it's all hidden underneath the cedar soffit.
And you'll be able to slope that deck away from the building?
That's correct.
Okay. And that gives you extra room down the bottom there, because I like the way that you use the massing, you know, with the roof being lighter and then becoming heavier as it goes down, so, but, you know, there's a design.
That was,
behind
you
that.
nailed the intent, is to go from lighter elements to bringing them heavier as they hit the ground plane. That's correct.
And then, let's talk about the Tesla roof tiles a little bit.
Sure.
You say they're kind of like shingles.
Yes.
Are they really like shingles?
Yeah.
Are they like an asphalt, like granulated? Or
Shingle
are they
more an
like-
application and the way they're installed. The application, so it's actually like a glass-faced circuit board, for lack of a better term. I'm gonna zoom in here so you can see this. It's the connection method, which is you start at the lowest point of the roof, and each one above slightly overlaps it, and then they're tied on the backside with all the connection points.
Right, but what's the materiality of that?
It's
you're
a-
comparing it to an asphalt shingle, and it's not, there's not granules on the top.
There's
of
no
it.
granules. It's a,
more- And the install is more like a roof tile. It's not a shingle. per se.
they call it a shingle because of the flat nature of it and the fact that you can see a tab, so it blends in with a 3-tab vernacular. You're right on the fact that it's more like a clay, like a flat clay tile with on a runners or something like that, with that space in between. I'll say they do call it a shingle. It's also that dimensional quality, which provides that aesthetic of a shingle. The materiality on the top is like it's a toughened, tempered glass system that allows light to go through it, because that's the protectant for the photovoltaic that's adhered to the back side of the tile.
So is it reflective? I mean, it's kind of like a matte finish.
It's a matte finish, and that's why I wanted to show you, like, that's a photograph of a final installation of it.
Because, you know, like the dimensions, you know, 15 by 45 is more like a jumbo tile, if you will.
Agreed.
It's not really a shingle. You know, I mean, it's a size of a shingle.
Right, and part of that is that they overlap the seams as you get, you know, where you kind of
Right.
cross the seams like in the tile application.
You know,
It won't be visible from the street, given the design.
except for their neighbor. Well, no.
Well, he's got a
they all
big
have
brick
windows.
wall, so we won't see us much.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I think that's my concern here is the materiality. I mean, it's, you know, yes, you have shingles in the district. Yes, we have different roof systems, mod bit and standing seam. I mean, I think this is probably, you know, closer to standing seam in a material sense.
In some
than
ways,
it is.
yes.
I think it's very progressive. You know, I think from our standpoint, clay tiles are not really prevalent in the district. And so we're kind of in a gray area there. It's not really asphalt shingles, but it's more like, you know, with the sheen, it's more like a standing seam roof, but it's panelized. So I think it's appropriate, you know, and I think it's, what you're doing there with that system is excellent. It's just something new, but, you know, this is the future and this is the way things are going now, so, you know, but it's certainly not consistent with anything we've seen in the district before.
It's definitely not historic, yes, sir.
Sure.
I was gonna save this for the comment section, but while we're open, If you go back to the front porch elevation, where you
Yes,
show
sir.
the cantilever and the terrace.
The section,
Actually, no, the elevation.
the elevation.
Yeah, or even the rendering, which was very
Yeah.
helpful in this case. I just have a couple comments about it.
Okay.
I appreciate what you're doing. It's a hybrid. You know, you're bringing in craftsman elements, you're bringing in Sarasota School of Modern Tropical Modernism. But I think the statement you're trying to make with the terrace might be a little bit more clearer. You've inserted on the west side, but you haven't flush with the side of the building on the east side. I think traditionally, they both would have been the same equal distance from the edges. I know you have a window there, but I think it'd be a stronger kind of element if it was pushed in as the same amount of space on the other side. I don't know if anyone else kind of agrees. It's kind of an awkward situation there. Secondly, I understand you have a truss system which gives us a lot of space between the top of the first floor windows and the balcony. That element, that kind of amount of space is a little bit, goes away from the craftsman style. I'm wondering, I mean, an easy solution would be to make those windows taller or add, you know, a small fixed window on top like a hopper. That would then extend the kind of the prominence of the ground floor. And then the cantilever, which I think is really intriguing given your hybrid, still is sort of something we don't see traditionally within the district. One solution that, you know, I'd be open to you having explore would be some kind of stylized bracket, like you see in, you know, Japanese craftsman style. But, you know, it could be just an element that comes out, does support it, but isn't, you know.
Is it more cosmetic?
It could be, probably, given the engineering.
It's not needed, yeah.
It's
There's
not
no
needed,
structure needed for
but
this.
visually, it would again address that kind of no man's space you have as an element, or bringing the windows up may not necessitate that. But those were just comments I had, more for discussion, but since the floor is open, I'd be interested to know what you would think about this.
One of the concepts for this was to create this kind of very clean, simple, almost, you know, Japanese stylized line that still pulls in the elements of the bungalow with that pitch, and it came down and grounded itself on the west side, that movement. Part of the drama of the piece, also bringing that level of modernity, is the fact that that is an open corner. That was very intentional, and the fact that it's pulled back a little bit also begins to accentuate it on the, you know, on that facade, and brings in that little bit of off-centerness, while that front porch on the bottom really does bring in that kind of traditional rhythmic quality. And then the two heights kind of bring the two together, kind of sandwich the two concepts together. That was the thought process of the design.
Do you feel like the extending the windows on the ground floor, making them taller, would
They're 6 foot.
proportionally
Sure.
sort of address that kind of blank area?
They're pretty large windows now. They're about 6 foot high windows. They're located in terms of the ground plane, very similar to traditional bungalows, which is about that kind of sitting height, you know, that let's say 12 to 16 inch height category. So we tried to keep that lower part, and then the door, obviously we tried to keep that door datum so it's consistent. And this is the window, except as Richard pointed out, except on the back, these windows are typical all the way around. So there's a consistency of window type. I'll be honest with you, I don't see the issue above it. We can look at that as a request. This house is viewed from the street, and because it's, you know, up, we provided you some elevations more for view. But from the ground floor, you'll really see that wood inset cedar that begins to bring the color and character to the piece, was the intent.
Okay.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. You know, I think there's, you know, when you look at the rendering, you know, a couple, maybe nitpicky, maybe not, you know, like, you know, where the roof edge lands between those two separated windows where, you know, it's kind of, you might have a few issues there with some of the trim, but I think you could probably work that out. But that no man's land in the middle, you know, it's probably a little bit too much space, but you have to think about it as 15 feet high, it's finished floor. So they're trying to get more volume on the first floor and then make everything else connect.
Correct.
I think it weighs down nice. If that's something that, you know, put some clear story windows up at the top, might make it balance a little bit more and bridge that space a little bit. I don't know if that's something you could do a clear story above that pivoting door to bring that through, or I don't know. The stair is right behind there too.
Correct.
We're kind of getting into a discussion, but
But, okay, so
Yeah.
you're fine with it as it is? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And what about pushing in the porch so that they're equally?
Like that,
No,
up there.
the terrace. And that could be a discussion point. So you didn't address how do you feel about pushing the terrace in so that it's equal to the other side? which
Can
is
you
like-
pushing the terrace in,
Look at the front elevation.
the flat? Here?
What you referred to as the pilasters with the.
These here?
Yeah,
Yes.
on the west side,
Here.
you've brought in.
We brought it in a little bit, that's correct.
But it's flush on the other side.
Correct.
Historically, we would see these porches really more.
Equidistant from either
Yeah.
side?
Yeah. I
That-
think it would read stronger as an element, but again, it's,
I mean, in a way, the rest of the composition works is really well.
Correct.
balanced, You know, so, I mean, if
Okay.
they do that and they make that move on one side and this aligns and wherever that results, if it goes all the way to the,
okay, well, thank you. Thank you for
That's correct.
addressing that.
This corner composition, as you see in the rendering, was very important to get that profile of it sat back, so you could read the siding turning the corner. We really wanted to make sure that side, even though it won't be fully viewed, it's not a big wall, we really wanted it to have a certain quality to Ybor, that as you look down it, it has a nice quality to it, and that was seeing that siding and that corner panel turn, and then the porch came, that was important to that side. On the other, you can see it really doesn't read hard. It does in plan, and I agree with you in plan, but in the actual makeup of it, it doesn't read because it's so low. What reads harder is, when I say stronger, is that second floor patio wall that kind of comes around and defines that edge a little bit.
All right, thank
That was
you.
our thought process.
you know,
Yeah,
I think
thanks.
when they detail that out, I think that's gonna come in a little bit to skip that trim. So
Okay.
that trim will probably go.
Thank you. Appreciate
Sure.
having that
No, absolutely.
discussion now instead of in the next
All
part.
right, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, Carlos, you've got a few minutes for rebuttal if you care to summarize anything, or we can go ahead and close.
No, thank you for your questions. I appreciate the design. Again, I just want to, on the record, we all hope to have clients that would support us on these resiliency efforts that us architects are pushing for. So I want to again commend our client for that.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. We can now discuss the case amongst ourselves. Mr. Torres.
I'm super excited. This is like a really good model for marrying, you know, traditional architecture, which is what we're trying to preserve, and modern or futuristic traditional building elements. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's an interesting project in that it brings the design intents into literally the 21st century like we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I really like the design. I think it you know, follows the Secretary of Interior standards about taking, you know, elements that historically and using them in a different way. It's a modern building that fits in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I echo everyone's comments here. I think it's you know, it's respectful of the historic district. It's, you know, brings in the proportions and the massing that we like, and it takes some modern turns and interpretations, and it's well designed and well thought out. You know, the rear windows kind of bothered me a little bit, and you know, when I first saw the drawing, I was like, you know, it's a little offset, it's a little weird, but it works, you know, and it creates a good balance. That it's, you know, it's got a strong root and a foundation, and lets it form play a little bit. You know, a little bit of that blank space between the first and second floor. Yeah, it's probably a little bit too much open area. I mean, there's things, you know, it could be, you know, real thin, clear story light, just bring some more light in there, or, you know, extend the top there. Does it need it? No, I mean, I think it's more important to probably capture that volume. That 15 foot is gonna be nice from floor to floor. You know, it's not stepping down, and they're taking advantage of their height. You know, they could go for a third story like one of their neighbors, or they could just, you know, really use the space that they have. And I like the moves that they brought in. You know, they go 0 side yard setback, and they didn't. They're like, all right, we're gonna keep that and create a little space for ourselves. So I thought it was well designed, and I'm excited to have them in the neighborhood. Again, you know, for a new place. Any Further discussion? You good with the front facade?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. It was a comment, but I feel like it's been thoroughly addressed.
And I think, you know, the applicant has an excellent track record here to work with staff to get some of these details fine-tuned and everything, so I think we can go ahead and entertain a motion.
Yep. I would like to make a motion, if nobody has any comment, to do a preliminary approval, or a final approval, final approval, okay. So, I would like to make a motion to move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented to the public hearing of BLC 22-154 for the property located at, did I miss this? 1917 East Fifth Avenue. Because based on the findings and the fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Ybor City Design Guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons. Those are back here.
Chapter 27, City Zoning Code, Secretary of Interior Standards.
Yeah. Put down that. What was that one here? No. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, based on the city code and Secretary of the Interior Design Standards.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Congrats.
Thank you, Commissioners.
And
Appreciate
I'd
it.
like to commend you on a very thorough and excellent, well-laid-out presentation. Taking advantage of your time to make a presentation. So
Thank you very much.
well communicated.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move back on to case 22-152.
Why don't we take just a 5-minute break while we change over?
Okay.
Can you have a motion for recess?
Move to recess for 5 minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Call our meeting back to order, and we can proceed with resuming case number 22-152.
Commissioners, Ron Vila, staff with Historic Preservation. The applicant has about 15 more minutes left to do his presentation. You had requested for him to pull up the site plan and elevations that he has handy now, so he will proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your accommodations. I apologize. We've been so focused on the renderings at the last minute that I did not get in front of the architectural line drawings. So pre-request, this is once again the site plan of the house sited on the yard. Once again, 5-foot setbacks, setback 6 feet from the front of the yard per the design. Just walking you through the design elements. This is a CMU constructed home, typical ledgered floor system, structural insulated panel roof. I believe I said at the beginning, I do build zero energy homes, so the intent of this home is to be in line with the U.S. Department of Energy Zero Energy Ready Home Program, which makes it everything but renewable energy to get to zero. The side elevation, because this is the sidewall of the porte cochere, there is, these are master bedroom, closet, master bedroom. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for fenestration. We certainly can do a clearer story. We certainly can do side lights. We can add some fenestration on the sides if that is the direction. And then the front elevation, this was the original drawing where that had the rear set garage. So this is now a porte cochere with a full pull-through. But it does show you the intention of the elevation, the 412 pitch roof, the soffits, the corner boards, the 5-inch overlap, and the casement windows. Just to kind of round out some of the fenestrations, obviously from a front elevation, the intent was to show good fenestration from the front elevation where the house is viewed from with the extended porch. What kind of drove the low fenestration on the sides was the fact that these are the headboard side of the master bedrooms and closets. Once again, super receptive to putting in additional fenestration if that is the direction of this committee, but that was what drove that original design. And if you've not had a chance to look at the first floor elevation, it is a front porch, enter the living room, a central staircase, rear kitchen. This is now a porte cochere that pulls all the way through. This is now a porte cochere that pulls all the way through, and this was initially storage, and this will be converted into a mother-in-law flat. So, additional cutaways, I think we talked about that as the flooring. We can show the side cut for the porch as well. That is the porch design and dimension, and once again, it's all intended to be square post, recessed panel with corner boards, and once again, resulting in what is the most updated plan. This is the elevation of the house, showing the removal of that garage and the porte cochere below and the living above. I'll open that up to discussions, and hopefully that addressed your questions on the construction method.
Okay, so consider that the end of your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll, Mr. Vila, do you need to follow up with staff report again?
You were in the question phase. I did address some of the concerns that we had. If you want to pick it up, if you want me to address any issues, I'm here for questioning.
Okay. Okay, anyone here from the public? Seeing none? We can ask the ask questions to the applicant. Mr. Hammer, would you like to?
Can you go back to the site plan?
Yes, sir. My apologies, it just for some reason closed. There you go, sir.
So you are not building to the lot lines?
No, there's 5 foot setbacks on the sides, there's a 6 foot setback in the front, and then it's about
Okay,
51
so-
feet to the
okay.
back of the property line.
All right, I had really thought you were building to the lot lines.
I would love to, sir, but I was cautioned I should stay without exceptions into the code.
Any other
Yeah,
questions?
no, I don't have any other questions.
Could you pull up your first floor plan, please? 'Cause it didn't seem like you were showing us the most recent.
Yeah, unfortunately, the architect was busy doing the removal of this, so the first floor plan, this is the first floor. Obviously, this shows the setback garage space. This is now a full porte-cochere pull-through.
But if, oh, okay. This shows that the porte-cochere portion is open, but I think your elevation is showing it
It
as
is,
solid.
it is. So when we did that, as I showed in the previous, it looked a little like a house on stilts. And so we extended this CMU all the way to the front so that they,
Okay, could I also look at the,
so that you get
the
that
north
effect.
elevation, the architectural elevation, not the rendering?
Absolutely. What, you'd like the front elevation?
No, it would be the north, I believe, the north side.
North side? Yes, sir.
You showed us the south side, which doesn't have enough fenestration.
Yeah, so the north side, this wall, obviously, instead of having carrier posts, would continue all the
Oh,
way.
I see. Okay, so those are the posts.
And you don't have posts anymore. That's a solid CMU.
It's a solid CMU wall, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No garage
No
doors.
garage doors.
So it's a straight porte-cochere, it pulls all
And
the
then
way
what's
through.
the rear elevation?
So the rear elevation, prior to eliminating the porte-cochere, had access to, through the garage to the backyard, and then storage on the other side.
So there's no connection between the interior of the house and the exterior?
There is, besides the front door, there
Wait, you're
is,
showing four living rooms in the plans, but I guess they're just mislabeled?
there is, upstairs, there's 4 bedrooms with connected living rooms for the 2. So it reads as the intent is to be multi-generational, so my,
And then the first floor?
so the first floor,
There's
is very
no-
simply, living, dining in the front, central half bath with stairs and then
But
kitchen
again,
in the
there's
back.
no connection to the rear.
So there is no connection to the rear. There's side doors on both sides, that give you access to the rear of the house.
Well,
Okay.
that garage is now all open, so
Yeah, this garage is
get
all
through
open. now.
that porte-cochere, you can get to the backyard.
Right.
Well, it's not open. There's an
No.
enclosed garage.
There's not, so the revision that was requested and in order to be conforming is what the renderings show, which is the porte-cochere is now completely open front to back.
Oh, so it is completely open?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I get,
That's
So,
a
and you can
solid-
see-
That's a solid wall there.
Yeah, and you can see there's that side door right there that's coming off the stairway that gives you access to the back of the yard,
well,
and there's one on
again,
both
I
sides.
appreciate you finding the additional drawings, but they don't seem like they're the latest that allow us to really review this.
Is only accessible to the back, right?
The garage.
On the left, yeah.
Correct.
Right. So are you gonna pave the backyard?
No, the intention is actually to leave it vegetated, because the big driving factor of this yard is there's a huge tree in the back, and I wanted to leave it. And so, fence and vegetate the rest. So I was
So you're gonna
trying
drive
not to do a detached garage to save that vegetation.
Okay. So really because of that, you're putting the garage inside the house. In essence, instead of doing it detached, you're putting in a garage
The
inside the
porte-cochere.
house. So
Yes,
to
sir.
get to that garage, you gotta drive through the porte-cochere, drive through the backyard and pull in, or is it your?
There is no
intent?
there's no intent to do a detached garage in this house.
That's not what I asked.
Sorry.
How do you get to the garage? You still have a garage on the left-hand side. You have
So-
to drive
so-
through the porte cochere, pull a UE in the
So
back?
that the left side garage, the intent is that's just storage. It's not gonna be a garage.
So, but it has a garage door.
Yeah, it's got a roll up. Honestly, since all those revisions, I will likely convert that rear elevation to a granny flat. So a mother-in-law suite, so it'll go to habitable space. So that garage door would become windows.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go. Do you have more questions, or?
No, no more questions.
No more questions for me.
So, you said it earlier, you said this was a slab on grade, then you said it's 18 inches above.
Yeah, since the
Slab.
historical reference point is an elevated structure, and I wanted to read that way, but still do a stem wall with a poured slab and not do a crawl space.
Right.
The top of slab is elevated 18 inches above grade. It's then got a hardy board treatment underneath the 5-inch lap.
Right.
So that it reads as elevated, but the true construction is it's a stem wall, CMU on stem wall and poured in place. It's just elevated 18 inches above the surrounding.
So if you
grade.
step out of the door in your porte cochere, there's a 18-inch drop going down to where the porte cochere is?
There is.
So you gotta put stairs there.
2 steps, yep.
Okay, so that's gonna cut down into your ability to drive through parking?
Right, it's a 12-foot wide portico cochere.
Okay, so, but that's not shown in the drawings?
It is not.
Okay. So, and your intent now from these renderings is that CMU wall that, you're having a solid CMU wall that supports that porte cochere?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Windows, are they all solid windows, or is there a pattern? Are they operable windows?
So they're all solid on the first floor. The bedroom windows are casements for fire egress.
Okay.
But to maintain kind of consistency, the intent was to be casement windows on the bedrooms and solid pane windows on the living spaces.
Okay. Yeah, I think at a minimum, you really need to do 1/1. They all need to look like casement windows, because you can't have that flat, just one window. It's just, it needs to be broken up somehow.
Okay.
So I'd say let's do casement windows all the way, whether they're operable or not, it's up to you.
Okay.
Just, when you look at that, it's just too big. Are all the windows the same size, or the ones in the middle look a little bit more square?
The ones so they're 48 inches in the masters, and they're 36 inches above livable.
Okay. The big issue that I have is the roof lines. I didn't, you gave us a bunch of photographs with precedents in that area on that block, and yes, there are a number of varying housing types and roof types in that area. I don't know if that roof type is really the best fit for this project. Is there a way to kind of make this more of a gable, like rotate it 90 degrees so it's?
The question I've got is it because of the broken double gable? Would you like to see that a single gable, or you want the roof rotated? Both I can accommodate. Architecturally, just when you think about the engineering of where the ridge beam grabs on the CMUs, it's much easier to run that ridge beam north to south across the home than it is to turn it, because I don't have bearing points. So I'm gonna have to go to probably a steel ridge beam, but I can't accommodate rotating that roof so the gable points
What
in the
was the
front.
reasoning for having the gable, the ridge in the middle and have it slope to the front and the back?
The aesthetics, honestly.
Structurally?
So structural drove it, but the thought is with the front porch, it allows the front porch to kind of be the dominant front feature. And then, because otherwise you've got a second floor and then another significant massing of that, of a 40-foot wide gable. So it would feel top heavy to me to pull that gable to the front, where if I rotated the gables to the side, I think you get a nice standing seam metal roof, the face of the house, and an extended front porch. I think the massing works better that way, honestly.
What's the slope?
4/12. Because there'd be a lot of wall if we spun that to the front.
And what's your structure behind it? Is it?
It's CMU, and then it's structural insulated panel roofs.
What, SIP panels?
SIPs, yep,
Okay.
SIP roofs.
Okay, and you, yeah, all right. Okay. And the siding, I think,
Yeah, so the intent is to be 5-inch lap. I would like to do insulated siding, which means it's a painted insulated steel siding. So it looks like it's textured wood and it's got a 5-inch lap, but it allows you to have a thermal break because I'm trying to get this house in line with the US DOE standards for energy efficiency. So it should read like 6-inch lap hardy, just have an insulation behind it.
and how does that work for, you trim out all the corners and
Yep.
everything? It's like,
Yep,
it's
that's
like
all,
vinyl siding,
that's
or
all
it's
hardy. So the
all the same
corner
thing?
boards still trim out, the casements around the windows all trim out, and that's all hardy board, but it creates that thermal break, because as you know, concrete is a pretty poor insulator.
And going back to the windows, do you have any trim details of how you're gonna trim these out? Are there head sill jam type of conditions, or is it just?
You know, so there's
punched?
center masonry set with a 3-inch hardy trim around it, so square trim, just like the corner treatments. So it's 3-inch corner and then 3-inch casing around the windows.
Okay. And okay, that's enough for me.
One, your comments about spinning the roof, that's one of the things that was a concern to me as well. I mean, this, typically in the neighborhood, the roofs go the other way. I'm not sure, given the massing and how the side elements step back, how you'd actually do that. But again, going back to the comment to make that front porch, it certainly could have slope the other way. That would be more consistent with, you know, the neighborhood. With the smaller windows there's some room to do that. It'd probably be a little lower slope, but I think that would.
Are you talking
That
just
would
for the porch or the main roof, main roofs?
Yeah, the main roof would, with the way the house is designed, with the step backs, to try to do, you know, do the gables on those sides would be really difficult.
So just the
Yeah.
porch, maybe? Is that what you're
But
saying?
certainly the porch could be done with this
Well,
slope.
well, he's got interior CMU walls that run all the way through. Like this is CMU
Yeah.
and that's CMU, so I mean, it's.
No, he's got the bearing walls to do it, but you got the valleys, you know, the slopes come together. I'm just, you know,
Yeah, and you know, when I started reviewing this, the roof, you know, the roof and the windows are really what stood out to me. There's no
Yeah.
definition in the windows, and the roof seems like it's backwards, and I was kind of looking for your photo presentation, see if there's precedent for that in that area.
Right,
And
yeah, and a lot of the standing seam roofs do run center forward. So you see that, you see the forward face of the standing seam, metal seam roof. So there's some consistency in the neighborhood with that. And like I said, the intention was on that front elevation to create a weighted perspective, right? So that roof pulls back and it doesn't carry that vertical wall 3 stories up. So that was the design intent. Looking at it and just thinking off the top of my head, I think there might be an opportunity to take the centerpiece, that 18-inch wide, put a gable on that and leave the side gables in, and then do an intersecting double gable. Honestly, I'd have to look to see if there's some historic precedent, but I certainly could do intersecting gables. It'd be interesting architecturally. I just want to make sure it's in line with your expectations.
Okay.
Yeah, and if the direction is to do a gable off that front porch, once again, it probably would eliminate that center window, but I'm certainly receptive to that as well, if you think that pulls in the right design elements.
Any other questions for the applicant? You've heard a number of questions that we've asked. You've got a few minutes to summarize your comments or rebut anything. And
Yeah, I mean, from my
close the public hearing.
perspective, you know, obviously, this is something that I'm, you know, coming from historic division, this is a neighborhood I'm very proud to move into, have it as a personal house. This is Zero Energy Builder, right? It's something that I want to do to show off how you can build a good house and still be historically relevant. I'm certainly more than happy to work with the design on what you'd like to push. Obviously, we've been in this process for about 4 months. If there's contingencies, I'd be very receptive to those contingencies, but I'd love to be able to move forward.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing, and
Thank
we
you,
can
sir.
have some discussion about the case in front of us, and Mr. Torres?
I knew you were gonna hit on the roof, so I didn't say anything about it, but it kinda stood up the same way. I mean, I really appreciate the perspective about coming somewhere else from Chicago and then trying to take some of that and bring it here. The dominant feature in the front, for the front porch, I don't think it fits the neighborhood, but, I think that there's some examples where that's consistent, because there's only 2 pillars and then like a flat thing, so there's not like a balcony or anything. Aside from that, I think it's pretty straightforward. Like, yeah.
I appreciate the interest in doing something, kind of a hybrid, where you're following the patterns of the historic architecture, but it's definitely a contemporary expression. My concern is, I don't know if it's just the drawings or the renderings, there doesn't seem to be a consistent attitude throughout there, because on the one hand, you know, you have corner boards, but they're too small, and there's trim, but it's too small, and the windows, traditionally, windows in a historic neighborhood are always taller than wider, and yours aren't like either too wide or too tall. You know, there's just something in between that is making it seem more industrial to me, and that's okay. But when for a new project in the neighborhood, when I sense that the direction is in more industrial, I think it really requires a finesse in the details and the expressions. I don't see that in these drawings. It might be there, but I don't see it. And then the side elevations, I think, are just not compatible at all for a 2-story structure, residential structure. I can appreciate you thinking about how furniture is to be placed, but that's the impact on the side elevations are just not within keeping of residential architecture. In terms of the roof, I'm okay. I think maybe just changing either the pitch of the front porch, making it steeper so it's more prominent. It seems a little shallow. That might be enough to give it the prominence we're looking for. Yeah, it's a center door though, so it's perhaps. But again, they're going for a modern look. And then again, just with the consistency, like the front door that's on the drawing doesn't seem to, you know, say one or the other. The garage door doesn't seem to, or is there a garage door?
There's not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the drawings
It's
are,
all moving.
I know, unfortunately, the drawings for me don't give a clear, consistent, and even during the presentation, the applicant's saying he might change things. You know, so I just don't know if this project, if we have all the information we need to make a determination.
Yeah, the drawings being different, you know, the renderings and the drawings are different. Drawings hadn't been brought up to date. They're not drawings that I think we can approve, because he said the design's gonna be different.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about a few of the, you know, I like the general design of the building, you know, and I think in that neighborhood, there's certainly some flexibility that can be taken with some design decisions. You know, the roof certainly bothers me, and how those roof planes are working. Is that something that could, you know, for the front porch, detailing that, accentuate that feature a little bit more, would take away from that roof plane? Yeah, or look at, you know, doing something different with that roof pattern. Even the windows, they need to be detailed better. Proportions are off, and those, I'm okay with not having any windows on the side, but then you start talking about that long blank face of those side elevations, and maybe there's some beadboard trim, you know, that could go around, like separate the first floor from the second floor, maybe bring that out, breaks up that monolithic side elevation. So yeah, I think that needs to be broken down a little bit more. I'd like to see some window details and trim details of how that's going to work. But I don't think I agree with you guys, I don't think there's enough information right now to make a decision. I think a lot of stuff is still moving around, that needs to be defined, work with the architect or your designer kind of fine tune a lot of this, but I think the general intent is good, you know, proportion wise, it's just some of these details need to be worked out. Sounds like we're probably not gonna have a motion. Is this something that we'd like to put back to the applicant, continue them to next month to work on the design for another couple weeks and come back in front of us?
We no longer do preliminary approvals with conditions?
I think we can, but I think there's too many things that are happening here. I mean, if he decides to change the roof, another thing, the porte cochere, I don't know if that solid wall there is the solution. You having that be in like individual columns might be a better way to make that a little bit more.
Beefed up the columns, yes.
Beef up the columns instead of a solid CMU wall there might be a better way to go too. But I don't know if we can do a preliminary because so many different things are changing all the time. So I think we'd probably move to a continuance. Can we put that back?
So what do we want to see? We want to see a complete presentation with a complete set of plans and renderings to match that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a stronger vision about the proportions and the materiality of the expression of the architecture.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. We've discussed some of the roof lines, the front porch, the windows,
Window placement.
window trim, trim details. You know, if there's a side surround separating the first and second floor, you know, that might be nice to tie to the front element. Determine what's going to happen with the porte cochere and, you know, that rear elevation, if there's not going to be a garage door, how that gets addressed.
That's going to be the one mostly with like windows probably.
So we've had a general discussion. I think we put it back to the applicant to
I think there's
verify.
gonna be a request from the applicant.
Yeah, if you don't mind, oh, sorry. Yeah, I certainly would accept the continuance. It looks like I can get back in October, so if that's sufficient, I'm happy to do that.
What's the date for the
October
October?
25th, 2022 at 9 AM.
October what?
25th.
Okay, we have a motion. The applicant has agreed to a continuance to the October 25th meeting. Do we have a motion?
Move for a continuance. Let's see what that is. Here we go. Move to grant a continuance in the case BLC 22-152 for the property located at 2903 North 10th Avenue. Street, sorry. To the October 22nd public hearing at
25th.
Oh, I'm sorry, October 25th at 9 a.m. to give the applicant a chance to present completed final architectural plans, elevations, and a chance to review all detailing, window placements, proportion of windows, the front door, and fencing that's proposed for the project.
Second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay, none. Motion carries unanimously, so we'll see you in a couple months.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So, earlier, there's been some evidence that was submitted into record as part of case.
All of them, just do if the board could just, Maria Pettismacher from the city attorney's office, can we just have a motion to receive and file all documents received at the public hearing?
Even the illegible ones?
All documents that were received at the public hearing, yep.
Okay, move to file and accept all documents and evidence presented at this public hearing.
Including the USB that was submitted earlier.
The
but we didn't.
documents, the
Yeah,
staff has it, yes.
Okay, yeah, second that motion.
Thank you.
All in favor of said motion? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have one more agenda item, election of officers for this year. We've been kind of pushing this off for a couple months due to lack of people attending here. We can either try to do an election or push this off another one until we have more members here.
We had originally, commissioners had more participation, but things came up and we kind of came down to the minimum. It's really your pleasure. If you want to continue it to next month, we can try to be more clear to the other commissioners to have participation would be a good thing, I believe.
I would agree, but keep kicking the can down.
So that would be the September 27th hearing. We could
Okay.
take another shot at this.
Just want to know that
If we wait till next May, it'll
Yeah.
we'll be just be doing it again, so.
just want to know that if there's a historian or a photographer, I want it.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to move the table in the election of officers for the Barrio Latino Commissioners for our next meeting on, for the next public hearing on September 27, 2022.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of said motion, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, seeing no more business in front of us, we are adjourned. Thank you all for your time today.
But the rockin' itis wouldn't let me run. Oh, baby, baby, give me one more chance. When I heard that beat, I just had to dance. Oh, baby, baby, when I heard that beat, the rockin' itis just moved